Why has Triple H been so successful? Why is Triple H running WWE better than Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard on Monday and Friday night? Long-term booking.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here for your 2025 WrestleMania 41 roundtable discussion. I am your host, JD from New York, and today, very special day, I am joined by three gentlemen who have made quite the name for themselves in the IWC. First of all, I'm joined by you-know-who on Wednesday nights, my partner in crime on AEW Dynamite and the post show right here on OTS, the Chi-Town Smark himself, Jesse, joined by...
Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? Ango is with us, and today we got the one and only Mr. Santi Zap is joining us today. Gentlemen, how are you all feeling on this beautiful Thursday afternoon? Happy hour it is.
Absolutely, man. I'm good. Kind of cold and windy and gloomy here in Chicago. How about you guys?
Nice and sunny in Detroit.
Oh,
Same thing here in the Toronto area. This is maybe like the nicest day we've had in a while. I'm ready.
oh wow.
Are you guys ready for WrestleMania? How excited are you guys for WrestleMania?
Couldn't be more excited, man.
Now you sound thrilled.
I actually am. Man. It's going to be a big weekend for me at home here, and I'm going to kick back and enjoy WrestleMania all weekend, brother.
All right. Santi, how you feeling about WrestleMania, bro?
I don't know. Are we allowed to be critical? Are we allowed to have thoughts and opinions nowadays? I don't know. But I'm always excited for WrestleMania. I'm coming into this one a little bit more cautiously optimistic. And I'm sure we'll talk a bit more as to why I'm being cautious about my optimism.
Ango, how you feeling, bro?
Not as excited as last year.
No.
Not as excited as last year. But it's WrestleMania. We all love wrestling. And honestly, you know, I'm just ready to sit back, relax, enjoy a couple cold ones this weekend. And it's Easter weekend as well. So it's going to be busy and pretty hectic. But yeah.
You know, a lot of us are excited just because it is WrestleMania. And I know a lot of the discourse on social media is because Triple H dropped the ball this WrestleMania season. There wasn't a lot of excitement. People were going back and forth on what should main event night one. Should it be the women? Should it be Punk, Reigns, and Seth Rollins in their triple threat match? You know, a lot of people are, including me, I'm guilty of this too. We're looking towards last year and for WWE to top what they did with The Rock last year, because we got a lot of great moments with Rock being on the show. We got the Rock concert. We got those two beatdowns on Cody Rhodes on that Monday Night Raw where he was outside the tour bus and in the rain, just an iconic moment. And then Reigns and Rock beat down Cody and Rollins as well. There was a lot to love, and the final boss character was simply unbelievable, and they righted the ship for last year's WrestleMania season. Santi, I'll start with you. With everything that's going on with WrestleMania this season, and looking back at last year, what could WWE have done differently this year from what we've watched compared to last year to make WrestleMania at least on par with what they did with WrestleMania 40?
I think that was always an uphill battle. For as long as I can remember, WrestleMania 40, and maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, I think that was the best built WrestleMania since I've watched WrestleMania. At the very least, the main event scene. So it was always a losing battle to try and top that, in my opinion. And it was already a losing effort by fans because they kept comparing this year's build to last year's build. The way I was trying to, I guess, massage my fans is by telling them, treat this like WrestleMania 31, where they weren't able to create a great build like they were able for WrestleMania 30 with the stuff with the Authority, Daniel Bryan, all the great stuff that was happening there. But WrestleMania 31 didn't have a great build, but it still came out of nowhere, and it was a really good, memorable WrestleMania. That's what I wanted to get out of WrestleMania 41. I never expected it realistically to top the build to WrestleMania 40. So you ask, you know, what could they have done differently? I think the answer is frankly nothing. You look at the stuff that they had for 40 and it's insane. I feel if anything right now, they're just committing unforced errors, which is causing people to have concern about this WrestleMania, with Triple H being in this like almost like already preemptive damage control PR tour, which is making me be nervous now when I wasn't that nervous. If anything, I was just like, I think this could be a sneaky good WrestleMania, even if the build wasn't great. Now I'm concerned. Like, imagine if you go to a restaurant, chef is about to put the food on your on the table and says, hey, don't complain about the bad stuff about this food that you're about to eat. Just focus on the good stuff. All right. Be a fan of my dish. I'd be concerned as to what I'm about to eat.
Yeah, Triple H, and Santi is alluding to what Triple H said with Peter Rosenberg yesterday. WWE put it on their YouTube channel, and he says this, and I quote, "This will sound offensive to every critic out there. I wish I could tell people off for being a critic. Be a fan. Watch this and just be a fan. If I tell you to go to the movies and watch a movie, and I saw it and thought it was really good, then just go to the movie as a fan. You watch the movie, you have one opinion. If I tell you, hey, go see this movie, but can you give me a one-page detail, things you liked, things you didn't like, and if it worked for you and didn't work for you, you watch it totally differently. You watch the product totally differently. It ruins it for people. The world was so much better when nobody knew." Now, Jesse and I talked about this last night during our AEW Dynamite coverage and kind of correlated it to what Tony Khan did last night. Jesse, you and I discussed that Tony put on a fantastic show with AEW Dynamite last night, and a lot of people felt that he did it because he wanted to stick it to Eric Bischoff. And I said, Tony should have that type of inspiration every single week to deliver a great show. And I said, look at Triple H in this, like Santi said, damage control type aura about him. And I genuinely feel that he is rattled a little bit by some of the online criticism, even though he says, everybody online, don't bother with them. It's not real life and this and that. I feel like he's rattled just a little bit. And I think Tony should use that as inspiration to book his show. Now, Ango, I'm going to ask you, I have never been more disappointed in Triple H in this Paul Levesque era than I have with these comments. I'm not going to stop being a fan. And with the ticket prices of all of this nonsense with the WWE, WrestleMania right now is it's like a fucking a lung to go to WrestleMania, and the ticket prices are outrageous. If the ticket prices are that outrageous, and he's telling us not to be a fan, what gives him the right to say that? If it's bad, it's bad, and we're going to let you know it's bad. If it's good, we're going to obviously praise what you're putting on television. What'd you make of his comments? Because with the ticket prices and everything that's going on right now to attend these shows, what gives him the right to tell us how to feel about the product?
He has no right. That's the thing that I keep saying. It's him and Tony Khan are both. You are creating a product that consumers are spending money on, and we're going to talk about this product, good or bad. And I think going into WrestleMania this year, it is a lot different than last year. And I think Santi kind of said it best, like this preemptive damage control. The funny thing is, I've been hopeful, like, hey, you know what? The Rock hasn't been there every week. John Cena hasn't been there every week. It's okay. WrestleMania 41 is going to give us that massive moment that makes it all worth it. Hearing those comments from Triple H really just made me feel like, damn, bro, like, why is there this disconnect between us? It's listen to your fans. I'm not saying, the IWC is right and everything, but listen to your fans. Your fans are spending a freaking mortgage payment to be at your events. And that's a lot. The economy is not great globally for people. And this is tourism. This is people spend their hard-earned money to come to WrestleMania. So I didn't like the comments at all. And quite frankly, I think Triple H, and I'm going to throw Tony Khan in the mix. I say this all the time. Shut up. Let your product do the talking.
Yep.
Come with your A game. I don't care about your competition. I don't care about tribalism. I don't care about none of that stuff. I'm giving you my attention for 6 hours on Saturday night and Sunday night. Don't come out here with some interviews. Don't do any of that. Just go out there and put on the best show possible. And then when you do that, go ahead on your media scrum and talk a little bit about, talk your shit then. That's what you can do.
Jesse, what do you think of Triple H's comments? Because I know a lot of people look at him, and clearly he's done a much better job to right the ship in WWE coming out of the Vince McMahon era. He's done a lot of right. It's not perfect. I know you and I were avid watchers of Black and Gold. He knows what he's doing, but a lot of people have kind of come to this realization that he's not good at what he does because of this particular WrestleMania season. And I do genuinely feel like he's getting rattled. But I know when things are good, he's probably one of the first people to go on social media to get all that heaping praise from the WWE fan base. What do you think of his comments and the fact that he is telling everybody just to be a fan?
He's definitely rattled, you know. So if you think back to when Cena turned and everything else, and you know, and the whole landscape of the main event scene kind of turned on his head. You know, Triple H ran straight to the public, and then it was like, does it feel like WrestleMania season now? You know, bro, just do it and stop throwing shit in people's faces. You know, he goes out there, you know, I think Ann just said a second ago, he goes out there and he taunts the biggest gate in WWE history and everything else, and the fans are applauding. He's literally telling you that we sucked so much money out of you guys that we broke records. You know, it's not a physical presence. It's not saying, hey, we sold every seat. It's no, we've sold every seat here before, but this time we made way more money than the last time. You guys paid us a lot of money to be here. Now, we don't want to hear your opinions about anything. Don't go giving us that shit. Just shut up and take it and keep giving us more money. No, that's kind of disrespectful and ignorant to your fan base. It really is, man. I mean, just to go out there and announce that you made so much money off of them. They're sitting around saying, I did pay a lot of money for this fucking seat. I'm not doing this again. You know what I'm saying? That don't treat your fans that way. You want to appreciate their presence, their support. You know, but their ticket prices are a hot topic. No one's excited about paying elevated prices to go be a fan of something, you know? They just want to be able to afford it because they're fans. They don't want to have to be rich to have to do it. So the way that he's flaunting that does not lead any kind of credibility when he goes out there and says, yeah, well, you know, just be a fan and, you know, and don't critique it. We can just not go. How about that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you kind of just, you want the best of both worlds. You want everyone to be a super fan and shut up about it.
I don't know. If Triple H went to a fancy steakhouse, if he went to Peter Luger's steakhouse and he ordered the most expensive thing on the menu and he got a fucking hamburger with cheese and barbecue sauce and, fucking rinky-dink sides and nothing that he ordered came out, is he just going to sit there and say, you know what, yeah, I'll take this? And the chef comes out and says, I'm sorry. You have to eat that, but I didn't order this. Yeah, fuck you. You got to eat it. I'm not going to go back and get you what you want. I mean, the ridiculous notion that the pro wrestling space can't complain, you know, it genuinely bothers me because I'm a paying customer. I'm a patron. You guys are as well. And we have every right to say how we feel, what we feel about the product. And go, why is the pro wrestling space? And I know this probably happens in other sports. I mean, I'm a Braves fan. I see the discourse, this year, especially with their terrible start. I know you guys support your own sports teams as well. Why is it so much worse in pro wrestling in the IWC to where all the pro wrestlers now? I'm looking at an AJ Francis tweet. He said to this Triple H quote, he's correct. Shut the fuck up and be a fan. And then he goes on and shills his own main event for TNA. Come see me or fuck you. Why is there such this animosity in the IWC when it comes to criticizing pro wrestling?
Yeah, because we're no longer the target audience, buddy. This is how it's going to change. We've seen it change with the UFC and TKO. Hardcore UFC fans have been priced out of events. They've created a system where the UFC brand is larger than MMA in itself. And TKO is applying that same ideology to pro wrestling. They want you to know that when you think of professional wrestling, you're thinking of WWE. And it no longer applies to us hardcore fans. The brand is so big. You watch the NCAA, you watch the NBA. You know, the Pistons are throwing around a Detroit Pistons WWE championship belt in the backstage locker room. WWE wants you to see championship belts and think WWE belt. They want you to see action figures and think WWE. They want you to see all these things. So at the end of the day, this WrestleMania, it's no longer about us. And I think that's where they've really got it wrong, to be honest. I think this ideology from TKO is that this brand will be bigger than any superstar or any one person. It's a very weird way of thinking. I understand why it works, but look at the people who aren't spending the thousands and thousands of dollars to go to these shows. It's not the hardcore fans. It's like celebrities and like really high profile people. We're no longer the target, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Triple H comments have made the rounds on social media this week, and a lot of people are talking about what he said with Peter Rosenberg more than the actual show. He was not the only one that made outlandish comments. Nick Khan actually made several outlandish comments in regards to a interview he did with Bill Simmons, and he said this in regards to the company looking at AEW talent and bringing them on in. And when their contracts are up, they're definitely going to have an eye on several people over there. At the same time, he praised Shad Khan. He disrespected Tony by not even mentioning his name, but gloated that Shad Khan is funding the entire project and yada, yada, yada. So Nick Khan said this about the dreaded roster bloat, because with him mentioning he's going to be signing some AEW talent after WrestleMania season is over, when they do come up on contract years, he said, "We will talk about those talents. This is something we won't do in regards to the roster bloat. We won't sign people and bench people. We sign people who we want to use." Now, Santi, I'll pass that to you. I know you watch weekly and you're ingrained in the product. I could list 5 or 6 different names right now instantly off the top of my head that they've brought in from AEW or they brought back from the previous administration where they were fired, and they did nothing, and they kept him on the sidelines. They kept him in catering. Andrade is the number one name that comes to mind. He hasn't really had a big role on the show. He's one of the best pro wrestlers in the world, and he's just now finding his way back to television because they brought Rey Fenix in. Baron Corbin was another one. He had a successful run with Braun Breaker as a tag team. They were tag team champions down there. He reinvented his career after Vince killed him on the main roster, only to be brought up on the main roster again, and they did not even feature him on television. They drafted Dijak, who is fucking phenomenal, from NXT, and did nothing with him on the main roster. I don't even think he made one main roster appearance. And then the list goes on and on. The Wyatt Six. One person of the Wyatt Six is out, and they kept 5 of them off television. Alexa Bliss got the biggest reaction in the Royal Rumble, not even on the WrestleMania card. What do you make about that comment, and how outlandish is that comment from Nick Khan?
Well, it's just flat out wrong, right? Obviously, like you said, there's just so many examples of WWE keeping people on the sidelines. What this made me believe is that Nick Khan perhaps doesn't actually know what's going on in the day-to-day television and who's actually a character that's appearing on TV on a weekly basis. It kind of tells me that he's kind of separated from that and is purely like on the business side of WWE. And if that's the case, he probably just shouldn't even be commenting on these things, because he was just flat out wrong. Like you said, there's so many different examples. Now, I'm sure that WWE doesn't intend to sign people with the intention to not use them. That just happens, right? But then why open your mouth and say something that's clearly contradictory to your business practices? Like, I personally, like, if people don't get TV time, it is what it is, right? Like, the people that they want to use on TV are the people that they use on TV. It's since as long as I've been watching wrestling, there's been people that have been kept on the sidelines. It's just like a natural course of what happens in the WWE. It's never really something that I've really put like a highlight on, unless it's somebody, that I really want to see, like the Dijaks of the world, etc. But him talking about this and making, world headlines about this, just being flat out wrong, puts us in a position to have to point out the hypocrisy. But again, it almost makes me wonder if he just straight up doesn't know as to who's being used and not being used on weekly TV.
Yeah, I don't think he does. I said that same thing last night with Jesse when we covered Dynamite, and I mentioned that. I don't think Nick Khan has any idea what's going on a day-to-day basis. Ango, you know about all the free agents potentially coming on in, the rumor of Jeff Cobb coming in from New Japan. They just brought in Penta and Rey Fenix. They've had a great run so far. Penta's been there since January. Phoenix has had 2 banger matches on SmackDown. Malachi Black is coming back. Rusev is coming back. I mean, all of this talent that at once upon a time was with AEW or in the previous administration that got fired is now in WWE and looking to, get a great second chance. obviously this is going to lead to some releases. That's the only thing that it could possibly lead to. What do you make of Nick Khan's comments? Because I know that shit bothered you just as much as it bothered the rest of us.
Yeah, so I think a couple things. I think, Santi, I disagree with you. I think Nick Khan does watch the product. I think Nick Khan is being a typical agent and a typical negotiator and being a great salesperson, right? That's exactly what he was doing. Oh, we don't bench people. Like, he's basically telling people, yeah, you come to WWE and we're going to give you that Rey Fenix Penta treatment. Now, with that being said, though, I think Nick Khan's comments were a little bit, not only are they wrong, but I think they were just really silly for the simple fact that right now we shouldn't be talking about AEW talent potentially coming over. This is your big event of the year. This is where your sponsors are coming in. This is where all of these other companies are going to start working with you. Start putting over your storylines instead. And I just think Nick Khan's comments really just reminded me of somebody who was desperate to make headlines, and it wasn't the right time for that. And I think, listen, I've said this on my show millions of times. People are paying attention. If you're in AEW, you see what happened to Brian Pillman Jr. getting repackaged and being utilized. You're looking at, Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, and they're being hot-shotted right away. People have their own minds. They could think their own way. They don't need Nick Khan telling them, hey, you come over here, you don't got to worry about sitting on the sidelines, that kind of thing. And also, I think it is kind of silly to talk about upcoming signings from another company when you are promoting your biggest show and you still have talent who aren't necessarily over or even being utilized. And that's the problem. This is WrestleMania. This is the biggest event of the year. And I just want to say this, and it applies because I think so many times people think I'm just like, I'm going to harp on AEW. But I always say this, like Tony Khan, Nick Khan, Triple H, whoever it may be, I'd rather not hear about them talking about competition or the industry. Talk about what actually matters. And there's no reason, like Nick Khan made those comments and it's very clear. He's trying to take his shots at AEW. And it probably has a little bit to do with the fact that Tony Khan took his shots, against Nick Khan. Hey, there's only one Khan in this business. Like, that's what it feels like to me. It just feels like a little immature war back and forth. Show me the good stuff instead.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, it's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. Yeah, Jesse.
For me, I think you have a point. I think it kind of falls under the rule. I mean, look, if you're going to talk about your competition, okay, but maybe don't throw stones in the glass house. So unless your house is completely in order, functioning on all cylinders, and everyone is happy, and money is great, talent is happy, maybe you shouldn't be talking shit about the competition, because do you really want people to look into your comments like we did with Nick Khan? I mean, so if your house isn't in perfect order, focus on that. But if you're just killing the goddamn game so much so that you want to talk about your competition and they want to look back and say, yeah, but you guys are doing great, then fine, so be it, but they're not perfect. Neither company is running as well as they should be running, given the talent that they have. So let's just focus on our own rosters.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to continue to happen, and it's not going to be the end of it. But I do agree, Ango, that Nick Khan said what he said because of what Tony Khan had said previously in the past on ESPN during the NFL draft when he was wearing the neck brace, and that comment where it was back in 2021, I believe. He's the only Khan in pro wrestling, but it's going to continue to happen. And during the biggest time of their year, and they're making it about the other place, it's not a good look because they did the same thing last year with Triple H making those indirect comments to Will Ospreay. But WrestleMania is on the horizon. It's in Las Vegas. I am somewhat excited to see what the stage is going to look like. I'm excited to see what the conclusion of the John Cena Cody Rhodes match will be. I'm expecting somewhat of a crazy situation. We'll get into all that. We're going to start with night one, though, and we're going to break this thing down, storylines, and go night one into night two. And we'll start with this one. Jade Cargill against Naomi. She is going one-on-one with Naomi here. This is Naomi's, I believe, first legit singles WrestleMania match, and this is Jade Cargill's first singles WrestleMania match. Storyline happened in November of 2024. Jade was written off TV after a backstage attack where a mystery assailant threw her on top of a vehicle backstage, right through the windshield. And a lot of people were making accusations that it could be Naomi. Some people blamed Bianca. Some people blamed, outside sources. Might not even be on the roster. But Cargill returned to the Elimination Chamber in March of 2025, and she went right to attack Naomi, who was in the chamber, and she took her out of the chamber match. The feud has been kind of personal. I love what they're doing on social media, and I love how they're building it up. Cargill is seeking revenge. She's got this darker look to her. Naomi, the transformation to a heel from a babyface, Feel the Glow, has been fucking fantastic. She's kind of devolved into this darker character over the last 3 weeks. And Santi, I'll start with you. What do you make of Naomi's heel turn? I think this is going to be the situation in Naomi's career that's finally going to take her to the next level, because all we've heard for years is Naomi deserves her flowers. She should be at the top of the division. I think this is actually going to get her there. And right now she is shining in every aspect. She's fucking great.
Yeah, we're definitely in agreement when it comes to Naomi. One of the things that I keep saying in my shows is that when she was Feel the Glow Naomi, babyface Naomi, she was always the 5th, 6th most popular babyface. With this heel turn, she's a one of one. She's really unique. The women's division needed a character like this. They've got all different kinds of heels, but something that they haven't done in the women's division that they've done really well with the men, with the likes of Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens, is the quote justified heel that people praise Triple H for being really great at booking. And now we're seeing it here with Naomi, where she has her justification. She feels like she's right and vindicated. And this is a unique character that we haven't seen in the women's division yet. I feel like this heel turn in this character shift, her ceiling is significantly higher than she was when she was a babyface in the Glow. When it comes to this feud, there's a lot less glitz and glamour. It's not a Mania main event. There's no titles on the line. But something that I keep saying is that just from a grassroots level, this might be the best built match at WrestleMania. They haven't fumbled at all. They haven't misstepped. It's just been like excellent segment, excellent promos. And I'm excited for this match. Like, I'm really, really pumped to see what this ends up being. I'm always cautiously optimistic about Jade Cargill from an in-ring perspective by herself, now that she isn't in a tag team environment, because we haven't seen that. And we're seeing it really for the first time in an extended version of it at WrestleMania. Very curious to see what that looks like. But overall, match aside, before it's even happened, these two have knocked it out of the park. It's been one of the most traditionally well-built feuds going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree. He is correct on that point, Ango. I feel like with what he said, I'm going to add this. A lot of times we see the WWE, and AEW does it as well. Like, everything's got to be for a championship. Everything's got to be for a championship. This is a legit story that's been building over months, and this is not for a title. So it's very refreshing to see not only the depth of the WWE women's division, but also get a match on such a major show like WrestleMania that does not include a championship. And I wish, NXT does this very well. They include a lot of the women on the show that are on that roster, and they're not going for a championship. There's sub-stories away from the championship. How do you feel that this match is taking place on this show and it's not for a championship? How important of an aspect is that to WrestleMania?
Absolutely important. And I think Santi really, really just kicked ass with that whole take, because I definitely agree. This is one of the better builds, probably the best build for WrestleMania. And really, when it comes to the women's matches, I'm going to say it, man. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm actually more excited about this than Tiffany, Stratton, and Charlotte Flair.
Absolutely.
And the reason for that is because I really hook on to characters, and at some points I didn't think Naomi was actually going to be the attacker. And then sometimes I thought, man, it's kind of predictable. Maybe she is the attacker. And then you get the reveal, and then you get the video packages, and then, Jade has become a really great babyface. And I will say this, if you can have a match on WrestleMania where either person wins is not the wrong answer, then that's how you know a storyline was very good. And I think even if Jade were to win this match, you can actually propel Naomi even further with this feud, further with the heel character. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. So that's why it's important to actually build storylines that don't include the championship, because you can actually evolve further. Sometimes you get the chase for the belt, and then after that, it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right. With this, you can propel Jade into a whole different stratosphere as a babyface, and you could have Naomi put her sights on maybe Bianca, maybe, somebody else. And I absolutely love that about this feud.
Yeah, I don't think Bianca's done with this, either one of these women. I think Bianca, we'll get to Bianca because that match is happening on night 2, but I don't think she's walking out as the champion in her triple threat match. Jesse, we are very familiar with Jade Cargill and the body of work that she's done with the TBS Championship over on AEW. I have stuck to my guns, really, and I agree with Santi. This is going to be the first time that we're going to see Jade Cargill in a real spotlighted match where she's got to be on her own and away from Bianca in a tag team. I do think Naomi is going to lead her to a very good match. But as far as Jade, my opinion is she's just an unlikable character. I feel like she would probably be better as a heel than as a babyface. How do you feel she's going to do in a match with Naomi? Because you and I are familiar with her body of work as a single. How do you feel she's going to shine at WrestleMania, if she's going to shine against Naomi here?
Well, I think this is going to be Naomi's biggest test. Can you bring Jade Cargill to a good match at a stage to this magnitude? But I'm a little bit less excited for this feud as everyone else is, because I found a huge plot hole in this overall story. And I want to talk about how we're doing their overall stories across the board in a second. But if Jade Cargill is aware that Naomi took her out and then partnered with her tag team partner and friend to help defend her title while she's out, why would she sit at home and not say anything to Bianca that the person that took her out is sitting there smiling in her face, holding her tag team title this whole time? She wouldn't say anything about that beforehand?
Like phones don't exist.
For fucking weeks.
It's a Seinfeld episode where it only works if there are no cell phones.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of odd. I mean,
listen, Jesse, I don't think you got the memo, man. We can't criticize the product, okay?
Oh, that's right about that. I forgot about that.
We're not allowed to.
And so that brought me to the difference in this year's WrestleMania and last year's. And I don't mean to get too far off the track here, but when you're creating a storyline, and I think this might be a problem as to why this year's WrestleMania might not be as exciting as it was last year. When creating a storyline, a nice long-term one, you want to start off with knowing your ending. Write your ending first, and then you go ahead and you backtrack the rest of it and make sure that it's all cohesive with the ending that you're trying to give. Now, it feels like that when they wrote these stories, they didn't necessarily space them out appropriately, because it feels like there's a lot of filler and a lot of, well, we just need to get to next week with some of these, especially with the absentees of, like you said, The Rock and Cena and stuff like that. So they're trying to glue some of these storylines together when there's nothing. And that's why we've been getting some of these piss poor SmackDowns and things like that with nothing really happening. The build not feeling like it's picking up because they gave us a weird spacing of the good stuff of these stories. And this one with Naomi and Jade, for me, it kind of feels like, I don't know, that the time that Jade took off before she came back and saved her best friend from the person that attacked her, I feel like that was a huge plot hole. And I think that's kind of the thing that's going on with a lot of these stories. They didn't pace them out very well because there's too much filler and there's too much non-action in some of these weeks. And now we're here and now we're like, man, doesn't seem like it's as good as last year. Yeah, last year was a little bit more cohesive. Yeah, that's funny you brought that up. I was actually going to touch upon that a little bit later on in the show here, but we might as well touch upon that now. I am of the firm belief that the WrestleMania card that we have on Saturday and Sunday is not what Triple H had planned. And I've been very adamant in saying Triple H has a vision. He probably booked this shit out since October, and I know that documentary last year, he even said he had WrestleMania 40 booked. 80% of it was done in November, and then The Rock came back and did what he did and blew shit up. Angle, I'll start with you because I know we went in different directions. You could look at this card and just look at some of the talent on this 2-night show this weekend. The New Day, I don't believe the War Raiders were their final plan, dating back to when the WrestleMania build started to come together. The community had a bunch of different ideas that were a lot better than the fucking War Raiders for the Tag Team Championship. I had Seth Rollins penned against CM Punk in some sort of stipulation match, which would be the third match in their blow-off.
I had Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre, or Roman Reigns versus The Rock if he was going to wrestle. I even had Cody and Rock at one point as the main event. Cena and Logan Paul, I put those two together. I don't know if this is the final result of Triple H's WrestleMania card back in November, but do you feel like everything kind of blew up earlier this year or towards the later part of last year? And do you think that this show is completely different than what Triple H envisioned, and for what reason?
I think yes and no. Like partially I agree with you and partially I disagree with you, because I do think, genuinely speaking, I think Seth, Punk, and Roman was for sure the plan. I think they knew that from Survivor Series. Like I can see that based on the way they've kind of done TV. They rushed the Netflix thing, with Punk and Seth. They kind of, I don't know. I think to a certain extent, though, the one thing that we don't talk about enough is the fact that WrestleMania is later in the year. And I think because they had a little bit of that extra time, I do think that's kind of where it shifted things. Like, I'm pretty sure Triple H wasn't thinking in November about El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. To me, I wouldn't believe that, So I don't know. It's just kind of a weird build. I think WrestleMania being later kind of hurts it. And I really can't think, and this is my problem here, I really just can't think of a reason why things would have had to shift. I can't think of any major injuries that would have changed WrestleMania.
I do.
I don't know. It's strange.
I think there was the unknown of Dwayne. I think they were hoping to get Dwayne in a match. They didn't know his availability, if he was going to do it or not. And they wanted to know what they were going to do as far as Cody goes, as far as The Rock.
Well, yeah, that's always a factor. I mean, but that doesn't give the excuse that the shows have been lackluster for weeks now. I don't really understand that. Santi, how do you feel about WrestleMania happening later in the month of April? I know usually it's the first week of April and things kind of hit, a lot sooner than they have been this year. How much do you think that's been a detriment on the WrestleMania build and the WrestleMania card? Do you think that has a huge factor in what's going on here?
It's interesting because I would have thought that the longer build to WrestleMania would have ensured that we wouldn't have matches getting rushed out the door last second. And here we are, where there's a handful of them where you're even questioning, why are these even on the card? Yeah. And if they are on the card, fair enough, but you had an extra 3 episodes of Raw and SmackDown compared to previous WrestleManias to at least pretend to care about the women's tag team division or pretend to care about the Raw division. To me, that's problematic. Like, you had that extra time and you didn't do enough with it. I hope moving forward that we just go back to early April, because if anything, I found that many storylines were getting artificially elongated. For example, Cody Rhodes and John Cena. Had WrestleMania happened the weekend after John Cena got hit with the crossroads, I think hype would be a lot higher for that match. But instead, we had 2 weeks where we didn't get Cena. We had to parade Cody Rhodes out there to try and make a storyline out of something that the biggest driving factor is Cena, who's not even there. So there are some pros to having a longer WrestleMania season. Unfortunately, I don't think WWE took advantage of those pros. The cons, however, have been a lot more apparent, with many of these storylines having weaker outings certain weeks over others. Gunther and Jey is a perfect example of why you don't start a feud that early like they did immediately after the Royal Rumble. So there's pros and cons to it. I just wish that they actually took advantage of the opportunity that's presented to them with more episodes of Raw and SmackDown, because right now I can say confidently that they didn't take advantage of it. And it led to some, as we've already alluded to, some pretty lackluster episodes of Raw and SmackDown. Like the Go Home episode of Raw compared to last year's Go Home, it pales in comparison. I think part of the reason is that they probably spent a lot of their ammunition in the lead up to this with all of the extra episodes that they had.
Yeah, hopefully come Friday, SmackDown, where everybody's going to be in town and they have 3 hours to fill. I hope that is certainly going to change the feel of that show, because it certainly does not feel, compared to last year, like it did. And you made a good point about the tag team championships. We'll get to that as well. I don't know if that's on night 1 here or night 2, but I know Bayley was involved with Roxanne Perez, and then all of a sudden that got dropped. The New Day You figured that they were going to go up against Rey Mysterio. That got dropped. And even though Rey is getting a WrestleMania match and Chad Gable's getting a WrestleMania match, completely different direction. Gunther and Jey Uso did not even get started up until about 4 weeks ago, where things really picked up. And this next match, I don't think this was the plan either, because Triple H had foolishly put the championship on Shinsuke Nakamura, and he did nothing with it for 80 days. And that is the United States Championship. We got LA Knight defending the United States Championship against Jacob Fatu. Now, Jacob Fatu is incredible. LA Knight is great. Don't know why they took the belt off of him in the first place. But this match, I'm looking forward to just because it's Jacob Fatu's first WrestleMania, his first WrestleMania match. And I know he's going to show up because he is absolutely incredible. Now, everybody knows about his rising star. LA Knight is the United States Champion. He beat Nakamura for that. Knight has been feuding on and off with the Bloodline, mostly Solo's Bloodline. He's got involved with those guys. And Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa have had this little tension on television for the past several weeks. And it is rumored that they may be headed for a match, potentially at Backlash in St. Louis. So as far as what we're seeing here, Angle, I'll start with you. How do you feel about this match? Are you excited about it? And what do you see as far as the outcome here with the United States Championship being on the line? Because me personally, I don't think Jacob Fatu is going to walk out. I think Solo's going to get involved. And I do think that we will get that one-on-one match with Solo and Jacob Fatu at Backlash.
Yeah, that's the thing that's scaring me, because I don't think that's the right decision. And it's nothing. I love Solo Sikoa. I love Jacob Fatu. I even love the idea of them feuding. The thing that really bothered me about this year's Road to WrestleMania was the fact that there was so many title changes happening on random episodes of Raw and SmackDown. And maybe that actually has part of the, maybe that's part of the problem with some of these storylines. But with LA Knight, I'm sorry, man. I feel like he's hit his ceiling. I know he's still over. I want to see this guy evolve into something bigger and better than the U.S. title. Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, you can do that after Jacob wins. This is the time. This is the moment where your U.S. title has been very lackluster, especially with Shinsuke Nakamura and LA Knight holding the belt. And you're going to have a mid-card with Andrade, Rey Fenix, Malachi, Aleister Black, Rusev is coming back. You can have a really stacked mid-card for the U.S. title. I think it's time to do the right thing. Give it to Jacob. And even after that, that's when you can do the stuff with Jacob and Solo. This is the time to really make that star power, really shine bright. And this is going to be sink or swim for LA Knight, by the way. After this U.S. title thing, when he drops it, we're going to see, can he really become a top guy like people say, or is he just going to be the best mid-carder?
See, the only way I think that works is if you take the title off LA Knight and move him to Raw. Because if you want him to move up on SmackDown, that's not going to happen. If Cena wins the championship, or if Cody's still the champion, he's not getting anywhere near that championship. So why would you take the belt off of him if there's nowhere for him to go? I could see him going for an IC title. I could see him going after the World Heavyweight Championship if it's on someone like a Seth Rollins after WrestleMania. But why would you take the belt off of him knowing that he has literally nowhere to go? I don't know.
That's the question. And here's the thing, man. We're at a time where there's a lot of guys who, I'm just gonna say it, I think they would be better world champions than LA Knight. I think he'll be a good world champion, but right now it's not the time. So he's going to be kind of stuck in mid-card purgatory. There's just too many mid-carders coming in, high quality, either way, Raw or SmackDown. So I think he might be kind of doomed, to be honest.
Santi, what do you think of this, Santi? How do you feel about LA Knight and his star? Do you think it's from my ears to what I'm watching on television? I mean, the reactions just seemingly haven't died down. I think he is one of the more over guys in the company. You got Cody, you got Jey, you got CM Punk. I mean, he's right there in the top 5, no doubt about it. How do you feel about his run so far? Do you think his star is fading? And how do you interpret Jacob Fatu? Was that the first time when Jacob Fatu landed in WWE? Was that the first time you saw him? And if that was, what do you think about his meteoric rise on SmackDown?
Realizing I muted myself there. It was the first extended time that I saw Jacob Fatu. I've seen matches of Jacob before, but this run in WWE has really been my, my genesis of Jacob Fatu fandom. And I think you pretty much hit it on the head as to why I'm excited for this match. It's Jacob Fatu specifically. And that to me in itself is problematic that I'm not excited about the other guy. And I don't think that's LA Knight's fault. I feel like it's WWE with this start-stop of LA Knight. Whenever there is momentum gaining for LA Knight, they kind of like remove the carpet from underneath him and give the title to Shinsuke Nakamura. And then he's kind of on the sidelines for a bit and a little bit of purgatory, kind of churning his wheels. And then last second, they put the title on him. It's like, well, why didn't we just keep the title on him the whole time so that I could get excited about the prospect of a dominant champion defending against the scariest dude that he could possibly be defending against. Now it's just an LA Knight that's held the championship for what feels like a couple of weeks at most and hasn't really been able to do much with this current championship reign as of yet. So I don't feel like the WWE has done a great job at getting me excited for the match. I'm just excited for Jacob Fatu. Frankly, 4 weeks ago, like as recently as 4 weeks ago, if you told me that Monday Night Raw's Intercontinental Championship was going to be the match that had a fatal four-way and that the SmackDown side of things with the US title was going to be the singles match, I would have said that you're crazy. It looked to me like SmackDown with Jey Uso, Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu, because they just didn't have enough time with LA Knight as champion. I didn't think they had enough time to build like a significant singles feud. And I think I was right. I feel like that should have just been the ladder match if they weren't going to do the tag team ladder match that so many people expected, because Raw over there, they had the ability to make multiple singles feuds for Braun Breaker, and they weren't able to do that successfully with LA Knight. So now I'm going into this excited for Jacob Fatu, but not as excited for the match itself. You asked me about LA Knight. I feel like LA Knight's always going to be in the mix, brother. I feel like he's kind of just perennially popular. I have a hard time envisioning seeing that leap from popular in the mid-card to main event. I'm interested in seeing it. I don't want to like turn it away, but I have a hard time visualizing it. And I think part of the reason why I can't visualize it is because WWE keeps stopping with LA Knight. Let's have a continuous LA Knight run so that I could then actually visualize and tell myself whether or not I want to see a main event LA Knight or not.
Yeah, I agree on that for sure. I don't know what the stop and start with him was, and the fatal four-way aspect that you mentioned is another great presentation as far as where this WrestleMania card is right now and what it theoretically was just a couple weeks ago. Jimmy Uso looked LA Knight in the face and said, "I'm coming after that United States Championship. I want to make a name for myself." While Jey is on Raw making a name for himself. Braun Strowman was in the mix there. I agree, it looked like a fatal four-way, and then all of a sudden they went to Fatu and LA Knight just one-on-one, which I'm grateful for because I'm not a big multi-person match. So I don't want to see a lot of multi-person matches at WrestleMania. I'm more of a one-on-one guy. Jesse, how you feel about this United States Championship situation, or do you not give a shit at all?
Well, so here's my thing about LA Knight. You know, if you think back in the day when wrestling was at its peak, all right, you had mid-carders who got massive pops. You know, your Val Venus, you know, your Crash Holly, hell, the Honky Tonk Man. These guys would get massive pops, but they were still mid-carders, stayed mid-carders and never went any higher. So, and I kind of feel that way about LA Knight. I mean, I think he's fun to an extent. I do feel like his whole gimmick does have a ceiling, and I don't see it being the world title. But it doesn't mean he sucks. Doesn't mean he's not over. It just means he's just a fantastic supporting player. You know, he's a fantastic mid-carder. Every company needs a solid mid-card. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing embarrassing about it if you just stay in the mid-card for good, because I feel like a lot of times they try taking that leap from a solid mid-carder to trying to force them into being a main eventer, Jey Uso, and it's just not time. It's just not catching on. It's just not getting over, and that's kind of how I feel like with LA Knight. Now, if they tried it and it works and it gets over, hey, you know, I'll eat those words. I mean, maybe they'll convince me otherwise with a different approach, different gimmick, different feuds. I don't know. But for right now, as it stands, I have no desire to see LA Knight in the world title picture.
No, not right now. It's got to be organic. It's got to be right place, right time. That's the way I feel about it. I think he's got a couple of months of a run in him if they want to do it, just to tell a great story. But I agree with the sentiment here that he is basically where he is supposed to be. So as far as who's winning this match, Angle, you're taking Jacob Fatu.
Sadly. Wait, hold on. You said Jacob Fatu, right?
Jacob Fatu, yeah.
Okay, my bad. Hold on. I was tripping for a second, bro. I thought you said LA. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened right there. Yeah, Jacob Fatu all day.
Angle's going Jacob Fatu. Jess, who you taking? LA Knight or Jacob Fatu?
No, it's Jacob Fatu. He is a future top guy.
All right, Santi, who are you going with?
Yeah, Jacob Fatu. A lot of people are expecting Solo to get involved. If there's some involvement, I'd rather it be post WrestleMania.
I don't know. Listen, I'm the only LA Knight guy here. I'm going LA Knight. I think Solo gets involved. As long as we don't see Solo and Randy Orton at WrestleMania, I'm good to go. So hopefully that does not happen. So that's the United States Championship match. That's happening on night one. World Tag Team Championship match. The War Raiders. They will defend the Tag Team Championships against the New Day, who, you know, I'm so disappointed. And I'm a Triple H guy. And I know that heel turn back in November was fucking phenomenal. The turn on Big E was just such great television. They didn't really do anything with the New Day from that moment on. They were off TV for a little bit. And then when they were on TV, they just came out and played up to the crowd and continued to tell the crowd that they were right and they did nothing wrong. And then there was this long stretch of television where they were not on Monday Night Raw and they didn't do or say anything. And then they brought them back, and then they were feuding with the LWO, and then that seemingly got dropped. And now they're chasing the War Raiders for the Tag Team Championships. At one point or another, IWC was predicting the New Day and Chad Gable under his new persona of Grande Americano against, you know, Rey Fenix and Rey Mysterio and Penta. That was the growing sentiment in the community. Now, Grande Americano is getting a one-on-one match with Mysterio, and the New Day is not even involved, and they are going after the Tag Team Championships here. I guess we'll start with you, Ango. How do you feel about what they've done with the New Day coming out of the Big E heel turn? And I just don't understand how they could drop the ball on two guys that have been there seemingly forever, come off so great, get the amount of heat that they got, and did legitimately nothing with them. How did you feel about how Triple H dropped the ball here?
Hated it. Listen, this is how Triple H operates. Big moment. Cool, you get it, right? You get the big moment, everybody's happy with it, and everybody thinks the follow-up is going to be boom, 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 right? Like this crazy follow-up. I think they did the heel turn just to simply turn them heel and make that itself a big moment. And now, you know, we could just kind of float around, kind of get away with it for a little bit, and then eventually get back to that and really build up on that. I think the New Day heel turn was a fantastic moment, and everything that they've done in this tag team division simply does not matter. And then people get mad at me on Twitter when I say Julius Creed should be a singles guy. Like, you can't ask me to be a fan of your tag team division when you yourself are not a fan of your tag team division.
Wait a minute, they got upset at you about that?
I don't know. It was like 1 million views on Twitter.
Why would anybody get upset at that, man? Did you see him wrestle on Monday? I mean, he's a fucking beast.
Yeah. It's not popular to ask for tag teams to break up, but again, I go back to my main point. How can I care about tag team wrestling when the companies themselves don't care about tag team wrestling?
I mean, it's the same thing in both companies. Both tag team divisions are terrible. I agree there. They got the moment, but what has he done with the moment? I mean,
nothing.
To me, they should win the tag team championships, and then from there, I can't even trust him on bringing them to where he wants to take them. What are they going to do with the tag team titles if they do win, compared to if they don't have the titles?
So now the real question becomes: have they positioned in the last year a major babyface tag team?
No,
because the New Day are great heels, and they're going to do great holding the belts, being a heel, but they haven't created this massive babyface tag team. So unfortunately, this is the problem. You ask the company, press the reset button. Okay, cool. Tag team title belts change hands. Press the reset button. Let's get the tag team division back on track. Buddy, you gotta spend some time like rehabilitating that division and actually allowing tag teams to get over. And it's a lot weaker on the Raw side compared to SmackDown right now.
Yeah.
But I think on the Raw side, it's just there's nothing. After this, I can't even think of a tag team feud that gets me excited. There isn't any.
Yeah, I agree. I've said this. I could even give you a particular year. I think it was the draft in 2016. I've been saying it since then. Every single year we've seen a draft. I don't know why the men's tag team championships operate on a different wavelength than the women's tag team championships. I don't. The women's tag team championships can go from SmackDown to Raw. to NXT. The men's have 2 separate championships, and they're both on Raw and SmackDown. I don't really understand it. Santi, how do you feel about the tag team division on both Raw and SmackDown? And are you as disappointed as the rest of us in how Triple H has handled the tag team division on both shows? What could be done to rectify that? How would you fix the depleted? I don't even want to say it's depleted, just the lack of vision in the tag team division, man, because I think that 6 teams or 5 teams on each show, that doesn't really constitute as a division.
Yeah, I think if you want to look at a actually depleted tag team division, it's the women's tag team division. They're just making up tag teams as they go. But on Raw and SmackDown, like the talent is very clearly there. Like the bodies are clearly there. I feel like they've done a good enough job on SmackDown to get me excited for what's going on there on a weekly basis. For God's sake, I care about what's going on with Berto. Like I would have never thought I would have cared about Berto 6 months ago. To me, they should just be copying what they did on SmackDown on Monday Night Raw, but they just seemingly just refuse to put an ounce of care into the Raw tag team division. This match, like by all accounts, should not be on WrestleMania, like in any capacity whatsoever. The only reason I feel like it's there is because they're setting up for a big WrestleMania moment, maybe the in-ring return of Big E or whatever it might be. And if that is the case, fair enough. That's a WrestleMania moment on its own, and they built it up with the great heel turn. But then I question why, well, if you're going to pay it off with this big moment of WrestleMania potentially, why wouldn't you at least put like a week and a half of effort into this match? I counted it. Between the New Day and the War Raiders, there's been a total of about 14 minutes of screen time in the development of this feud. And the majority of it, we had to listen to Tony Hinchcliffe promote his comedy special. So as you said, Ango, if WWE themselves aren't going to care about the tag team division, how can we? I'm sure the match is going to be fine. The WrestleMania moment is going to be great. But this is why I hate the phrase, and my community knows I hate this. I hate the phrase, let Papa H cook, because it's used often as a shield to defend terrible TV and terrible storytelling just because the payoff might be good. I want the whole thing to be good. Why have we accepted mediocrity simply because Triple H has become good at landing the plane? If the plane ride's shitty and, if we're bouncing all over the place and we think we're going to die, I wouldn't just congratulate the pilot. Thank you so much for landing this. I want the entire experience to be good. And like I said, I feel like they're going to pay off with something cool at WrestleMania with this, but why couldn't we get there in a fun, exciting way?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I said that same thing, Jesse. We said that same thing just a couple of weeks ago. It's about the journey and the journey that you embark on that people are going to remember. If it's fucking mid the way that it's been, and then we get to WrestleMania, I mean, people are not going to really feel the way that they should when we get to that end result. How do you feel about this? And do you share the same sentiments as the rest of us about the War Raiders and the New Day and just the overall New Day vibe since the heel turn to where we see them now?
People complain that Santi wouldn't fit in here. This guy's at home.
Well, I mean, listen, man. Honest people, man. That's what we need to be. That's fucking great.
What the hell? I think a lot of these fans here today either don't know because they're newer fans or maybe they forgot, but the New Day entered this universe as heels. And they were fantastic heels. They were great. They were so great at being. They were one of the originators. I think The Rock was the actual originator. When you're just so good at being healed, you just get turned babyface by the fans. Like they just can't take it anymore. You just ooze too much charisma, man. And that's how the New Day started. They were so funny. They were on point with their pop culture references when they came out. It wasn't just always your local sports team sucks, ha, ha, ha. They were good at their digs. They were really good heels. I'm not feeling that in this New Day heel run. So I'm leaning towards agreeing with you that it's not the New Day. It's creative. It's Triple H. I mean, because I feel like if maybe you need to loosen the reins. I feel like if you just let them do what they do, they know how to work a crowd. They know how to be heel. I mean, they were so good at it when they did it. Now, it does feel a little inorganic. It does feel like they're being held back. It feels like they need more material to work with. Something, I don't know what it is, but I'm definitely not feeling this heel run, especially if I look at it and compare it to their previous heel run. Now, with the War Raiders, I just don't give a shit. I just don't give a shit.
And that's sad because they're a great tag team.
They are phenomenal. When that bell rings and I want to see a great tag team match and I got the War Raiders on the board to pick, I mean, I just might pick them to go out there and knock out a fantastic tag team match.
Man, Eric was injured, and Ivar had a fucking great run for about 3 or 4 months. He was fucking killing it on Monday. I don't know what happened.
They are good. They are good. I just feel like there's no investment. I feel like there is nothing in addition added to them except they have the tag team titles. And that's just not good enough going into WrestleMania season.
Well, I mean, creative also harmed them, too. I mean, Triple H has done everything to resuscitate what Vince did. I mean, they got their name back. They got their NXT music back from Black and Gold. I mean, they had everything working for them down there. Then Vince killed it. Triple H tried to bring it back, and it just never hit. Same thing with Karrion Kross. You know, Triple H did what he did with him down there, brought him to the main roster. Vince killed him. He eventually got fired, brought him back, tried to resuscitate everything that had happened before Vince killed him. And it just never clicked. I don't know if they're a product of that or if, like you said, people just genuinely don't care. I mean, I don't know.
They just don't get. What happened to Sarah Logan? That was a nice little addition that they had too.
Oh,
she went away from maternity, right?
Yeah. She her and Eric had another child. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean that. Not saying that's the deciding factor, but sometimes the little things, the name changing, take away the valet. Change the entrance music, all this other shit. Yeah, that affects your momentum. Slowly but surely, those little things will pick away at your momentum. So I don't know what it is exactly, but I entirely don't care for the War Raiders right now, and I don't like not caring about the War Raiders. Yeah,
I agree. So I think I'm going New Day. Some people in the chat say Big E is going to show up and have the match go in the way of the War Raiders. I don't really see that happening, but I do think that would be pretty cool if it is a WrestleMania moment. I'm going New Day to win. I just think that they need it, and the War Raiders experiment has failed. I think the division is not where it needs to be with them, so hopefully something happens with the New Day. I'm going New Day. Angle, who are you going with?
New Day, yeah.
Jesse?
Definitely New Day.
Santi?
You know what? I went in my predictions with War Raiders. The whole targeting of the War Raiders next just seems to hit too close to home with the Big E stuff. I think he's going to get involved, and War Raiders are going to win.
I would like to see that happen. We'll see. So, all right, that's the tag team championships on the line. War Raiders and New Day taking place on night 1 at WrestleMania. Also, night 1. This is one that's probably going to cause a lot of divide in the community. And I am not really looking forward to it. Tiffany Stratton walking in as the Women's World Champion against Charlotte Flair, who won the Royal Rumble in 2025 after being on the shelf for 12 months with a torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus. I guess we'll start with you, Ango. I know I have, listen, I am public enemy number 1 in the whole Charlotte Flair realm on social media. She's a fantastic pro wrestler. Let me get that out of the way. But with that said, I don't think it was the right creative move to give Charlotte Flair the Royal Rumble because you're only drumming up all of that volatile feeling, that sentiment that Charlotte is legitimately handed everything, no matter who she's in the ring with, no matter what situation. I mean, some people in the community have coined Charlotte coming back with her imaginary Charlotte in the Charlotte Flair Money in the Bank contract. Charlotte in the Bank contract. She just comes in, she gets a championship match whenever she wants, and boom, she's a fucking 18-time women's world champion. I don't know what the whole notion is around Charlotte and why she needed to win the Royal Rumble. And a lot of people have predicted this match going into WrestleMania, well into the later portion of 2024. A lot of people had this penciled in as the Women's Championship match. And I'm like, all right, that sounds like a great match. It's going to be a good look for Tiffany. Charlotte's going to do the deed. She's going to put over the rising young star. I haven't gotten that vibe at all in the last 2 or 3 months with this, especially when Charlotte won the Royal Rumble. I'm like, I don't like this at all. I don't think Charlotte Flair is good for the division. I don't think Charlotte Flair makes anybody better. I think Charlotte Flair is all about herself. And if Charlotte Flair disappeared tomorrow, I don't think anything would be lost in the division. I think she does more harm than good. She's a great pro wrestler, but I don't think she does anything beyond that. And this story has absolutely bombed. And I'm looking forward to Tiffany winning, but I know in my heart of hearts that's not going to happen. And I think everything that we feel with this build is going to get a lot worse after WrestleMania. So how are you feeling about everything, Ango? And what was your feeling coming out of that train wreck of a promo between Tiffany and Charlotte, where they legitimately took shots at each other? One mentioning, Charlotte's divorces, and Tiffany and whatever she was standing in the ring with Charlotte, just kind of Charlotte making fun of her accent and, the Valley Girl vibe. How do you feel about all this?
Yeah, well, first I want to say I totally disagree with you about Charlotte Flair. Like, if she was not here tomorrow, like on WWE programming or whatever, Charlotte is the GOAT of the women's division. The problem is not Charlotte Flair. The problem is how WWE books and makes everybody perceive Charlotte Flair. So I kind of want to say this too, because if you look at the storyline, I think Charlotte, 100%, I agree. She was the wrong call for the Royal Rumble. Jey Uso was the right call. She was the wrong call. And because she was the wrong call, we all had this idea in our head of what that feud would look like. And to be honest with you, I think every idea sucked. And the reason for that is because Charlotte has been handed everything. Charlotte needs to be presented as the final boss of the women's division, not the person that just gets everything handed to her because of her name or whatever. So for me personally, I have zero interest in this match. I didn't have any interest in it when I saw that it was official from the Royal Rumble. The only time I cared was because of the fact that they took personal shots. And I'm sorry to say this, but I think in pro wrestling, anytime things feel a little too real, yes, it's exciting to watch and it's cool and it's got that shock value. But other than that, I think this has been a miserable story to go through. I don't think it's done any favors for Tiffany. I don't think it's done any favors for Charlotte. I think WWE, this actually exposed Triple H and the WWE for also not understanding how the crowd would react.
How could Charlotte Flair be the final boss of the women's division when she's 38 years old and has already 14 title reigns? Don't you think it's time for a new final boss?
So let me explain this though to you. This is how things change. Look at Becky Lynch and Charlotte. They have been constantly thrown and forced down our throats, right? You look at Roman Reigns, constantly forced down our throats. Roman Reigns became the final boss, the head of the table. The Rock was the final boss, whatever. But like, if you look at Roman Reigns and what he built under the Bloodline era, it was through being built up properly over the years, being hated and despised, right? But Roman held the belt and they turned that into a positive with the stories and the people coming after the Bloodline and whatever. With Charlotte, it's just she's Ric Flair's daughter, and that's why she's a multiple-time world champion. Like, that's it. So the thing is, 38 years old, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can do a character change for Charlotte Flair that allows her to not be competing for the title. Maybe not having her, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. It's very tough. The damage has been done. But if you really want to position Charlotte as like the top act, you don't do it by rewarding more titles. You have her go out there and literally destroy people from Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Hey, I'm Charlotte Flair. I'm the queen. I do what I want when I want. Maybe you do a fake storyline where like you try to blur the lines and make it look like Charlotte's done with the WWE and she's not showing up anymore for a couple months, or like there's ways to go about it. The problem is they haven't. It's just she comes off, she returns from an injury and she gets rewarded with the championship. And this is a cycle every single time. So I think the damage is done. I think there is a way to repair it. I think it's just, and it requires them literally not doing shit like this. And I'm sorry, but like Tiffany Stratton is an amazing talent, but she's a heel. She's a baby face. Like, what is it? Like these things with them going off script, it kind of confused me at this point. Like, I don't know, man. It's a mess. It's a mess. This is the biggest mess WWE ever created. And the reason why they created it was because they played it safe with Charlotte, and they tend to do this in the women's division. And it's why I said earlier too, with like Naomi and Jade being a better story than this.
Yeah,
you gotta create stars, man.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why I feel like Charlotte should be in the position to help aid the future of the division. Santi, when she won the Royal Rumble in 25 back in February, and it drummed up all of those old feelings of here we go again. Charlotte's going to go to WrestleMania and win another championship, and we're going to have another hostile takeover in this division, and she's going to have a grip on that championship and not put anybody over. How do you feel about where we went into the Royal Rumble to where we see Charlotte now? Because I remember that first SmackDown where she showed up after winning the Royal Rumble. She came out and she was very gracious. I worked so hard to get this opportunity, and WWE didn't really do anything to present Charlotte in the proper light, because having her go out there and be gracious and tell everybody she worked her ass off and she got back to where she is right now because of, the work she put in with the surgery she had, that was the wrong presentation, in my honest opinion. I would have had Charlotte immediately come out and say, fuck the fans. You people never liked me, never respected me. I don't give a shit about you. I'm going to WrestleMania and fuck off. I'm going to win this championship. How do you feel about the presentation that we first got when she won the Royal Rumble to where we see her now? Has like Angle said, the damage been done and it can't be rectified?
I'll say this. I've always been saying for the last 2 years that I've been making content that it's death, taxes, and Charlotte Flair winning championships whenever she comes back from injury. It's just like a law of life at this point. So I bursted out laughing when she won the Royal Rumble because I was of the mind like, shit, here we go again. And I didn't understand why they gave her the Rumble victory to begin with, because Charlotte Flair is at the point in her career where she could fart and get a WrestleMania match for a title. You don't need to give her the Royal Rumble victory, especially with Elimination Chamber literally right there. That would have been far better received had Charlotte won the Elimination Chamber as opposed to the Royal Rumble. It would have still gotten groans, but not to the level of the groans that we got. Here's the thing. Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton is the correct match. It's the match people have been fantasy booking since the end of WrestleMania 40. It's the match that people wanted. It's just somehow WWE found a way to trip over themselves every step of the way in the buildup of this feud. Why have Charlotte win the Royal Rumble? Trip number one. Why have Charlotte come back as a babyface?
Yep.
That is so tone deaf. When your vignettes and the lead up to her return was that she's rich and she's awesome and better than us, and then you parade her out there that she is so happy and gracious in her win, it was an immediate disconnect. I already had a bit of a disconnect with babyface Tiffany Stratton. I still think that's struggling to get over. So everything that WWE has tried just hasn't worked. JD, you mentioned a little bit about kind of like Charlotte's ego and refusing to put other people over. And I think it's been pretty clear in this feud. My one saving grace for this is that Charlotte is so egotistical, so wanting and demanding of the spotlight that she wants to put on the best match at WrestleMania. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to make Tiffany Stratton look good in the actual match. That is what I'm hoping for, because the lead up and the build and this feud has been a mess. Here's the thing. I didn't care at all about this feud. I'm like, this isn't working at all. And then they started to get personal. Ango, you mentioned, sometimes like when it gets too real, you kind of get a little bit disconnected. It doesn't work for you. Maybe it's because I'm from the Jersey Shore era. When that shit got real, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Maybe not for the reasons that they wanted me to be in, but I'm in some capacity. I'm in the same way that I'm interested in seeing a garbage truck on fire when I'm driving by. I'm like, I want to see what that's all about. That's why I'm interested in this match. I'm interested because it got personal. I'm interested to see how they're going to work together in the ring. And I'm hopeful that the match itself will end up being the banger that I really believe that it can be with the talent that's in there. It almost feels like WWE was almost always relying on, we know this match is going to be awesome, so we're just not going to put our A game into the buildup of this. But additionally to all of that, it also just felt tone deaf with what they've done with Charlotte. Like, this is not what anybody wanted out of Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, I agree in the sentiment that you said that Charlotte's going to look to kind of prove everybody wrong. She did that at WrestleMania 39 when there was just this viral campaign and people made a big stink about Charlotte and Rhea Ripley not main eventing night one. And it went to Sami, Kevin Owens, and the Usos, which honestly, in my opinion, was the correct choice because, story is king. So that had the proper story, that had the proper ending to a night one main event of WrestleMania. But Charlotte and Rhea Ripley went out there with everybody saying they should have main evented. They didn't. And they probably had the match of the fucking night, honestly. Probably one of the greatest women's matches in the history of WWE. Those two women had at WrestleMania 39. So I do agree that Charlotte's probably going to go into this thinking that I'm going to take this woman to the best match that she's ever going to have. And I think she excels in that aspect for sure. Jesse, how do you feel about Tiffany Stratton? Like Santi said, she started off as a heel. She cashed in. She theoretically became a babyface just because she cashed in on a less favorable champion in Nia Jax. And now we see her kind of maintaining this babyface run. But she hasn't really shed the heel persona. We're just starting to now see her, differentiate the way she speaks from what she did as a heel. We're seeing a little bit more real come out of Tiffany Stratton. We're seeing a little bit more of that Minnesota come out of Tiffany Stratton as opposed to the Valley Girl, the Cali Girl, Tiffany Stratton that we saw in NXT. How do you feel she's going to do if she continues on this path to really set her character apart from what she did as a heel? Do you think it's going to work for her?
So I don't believe Charlotte was best for business for Tiffany Stratton. Just for the simple fact of I don't think a babyface Tiffany Stratton was a good idea. I think you're messing with damn near perfection when you took her and you pretty much turned her babyface because she cashed in. I think you could have kept her heel after the cash in. She would have been fine. But putting her against Charlotte instantly makes her a babyface. And I don't think Charlotte understands the assignment here that she has this year. You know, Charlotte is homegrown for WWE. She knows no other system as it pertains to pro wrestling. When she started in this company, she was built up from nothing, and she got the assignment. The assignment was to get good, and she did that, you know, and she was very good in that ring. And then she escalated to, you know, just top of the locker room. She was main event status, you know, and I think for what it was worth, she did fine there. I mean, she was very polarizing. Some people loved her, hated her. That's fine. But she can hold her own. I think she's in another part of her career. She's in the third stage of her career, and I don't think she's accepted that, where there is someone younger and hungrier than she is, and her job is to make that person a bigger star, and I don't think she's embracing that. I don't think that she is welcoming that. I don't think she is happy with the fact that they found someone that they are ready to put over her. So in every twist and turn, she has to put herself over when her job is to put Tiffany over. Even if she is trying to do that via the controversy or through the real life way, it's not working. So she doesn't know how to put someone over in this situation. She doesn't know how to stand tall, look good, still be the dominant Charlotte Flair, but still make your opponent look better, especially going into a WrestleMania feud. They shouldn't be scrambling trying to fix this feud. Charlotte has been in this business long enough. She should know what the assignment is. She should not be up there trying to trip up Tiffany Stratton or throw her to the wolves to see if she sinks or swims. It is her job to get the girl over. You know, others did it for her when she was in her ascension through her career. It is her turn to help the next one in line to ascend. And they can't do that when they have roadblocks like Charlotte Flair, who's more focused on maintaining her position in the locker room with these off-script shoots and everything like that. She can't let a smart crowd rattle her. She's been doing this long enough. She knows when she get what she's getting when she comes here to Chicago. She knows what kind of crowd she's getting. She can expect to be sitting in front of a live crowd with a live mic doing a promo to just get heckled. She acted like it was her first goddamn day and she didn't know what to do out there. She was shook, you know, leaving Tiffany to hold the bag and everything. She is the young, inexperienced one when it comes to this regard. This is Tiffany's first spotlight, main event, big fucking stage. Charlotte should be there holding her hand, not making it harder for this girl. I don't think Charlotte understands or wants to do what is expected of her with Tiffany Stratton this year.
She was in Chicago and she legitimately said, "I don't know what else you want me to say, Chicago. Really? I mean, you're the professional here. You're the heel. What are you talking about? You don't know what else to say. Say something."
Yes.
Jesse, I agree with everything you said, but I don't think anybody here or anybody in the chat thinks that Charlotte's eventually going to relinquish power in that division to simply, benefit the younger talent there. Look at her father. Her father is 80 years old, still wanting to wrestle. So this woman is never going to want to go away. She's never going to want to put anybody else over, ever. That's the problem I have.
Yeah. They created that beast. They created that beast as they groomed and then as they escalated Charlotte through the years. They created this beast. I don't think anyone taught her the art of putting someone else over and still looking good in the process. It's not like she's old news and nobody gives a shit anymore. But if she goes out like this, she loses a ton of respect from the wrestling community when, come on, man. This is Tiffany's time. It's no pun intended. You know, Charlotte has had her time. This is time for some. This is Charlotte's chance to give some of that mojo to the next star, and she just can't seem to bring herself to do it and do it clean. I mean, it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this fucked up. I feel like Triple H expected more of Charlotte when he booked this match, and if I want to keep Tiffany's heel persona, like I said in the beginning of this, I'm not booking Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair because Tiffany is going to be a heel if I have my way, and Charlotte is going to be a heel if any crowd has their way. I would have found a better babyface opponent for Tiffany Stratton.
Angle, has the division moved on from Charlotte? I was about to ask, is the division moving on from Charlotte, because we see the influx of talent? I mean, Roxanne just made it to the main roster. She's going to have a big run. She's not really doing much of anything now, but she's going to have a big run. Io came into her own this year. Rhea is unbelievably popular. She's the most popular woman in WWE right now. Becky is looming, hopefully coming back soon. Bianca, Jade, Naomi, and then you look at NXT. Jordan Grace just got there. Stephanie Vaquer just got there. Julia's there. Sol Ruka. I mean, the list goes on and on. Zarya. Is this division moving on from Charlotte Flair, and is that rattling her to a point, knowing that if she is in this division that she's not going to be the spotlight and they're going to move on to somebody else? How afraid is she?
Yeah, I think that was going to be my point. And I think Jesse did a really excellent job of really taking that point home, because when you look at Charlotte Flair, and this will be quick, but when you look at Charlotte Flair, we all agree that she's just been, injured, comes back, winning the belts, all this kind of thing. I think Charlotte's very well aware that her time is coming closer and closer to an end. The beauty of that, though, is because she is really talented and there is this new influx of women coming in and ready to take that spot. Two things I'll say. One, I think they rushed getting to Charlotte and Tiffany. In fact, I would say they went even as far as rushing Tiffany's superstardom, because I know she was over, but she didn't need Money in the Bank. They didn't have to do it that soon, because the way I look at Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton, this was a match that we all kind of fantasy booked a year ago or whatever, but that could have been like a massive, massive, massive match with the proper build, long-term build, Tiffany and Charlotte really having a long, serious storyline being built up. However, this is the big thing. Not only did they rush everything, but I think it is very clear with WWE right now, they would actually benefit from Charlotte going part-time. And by her doing that, you actually should have Tiffany win this match. We shouldn't see Charlotte as much. I think they take a break from Charlotte, start getting these call-ups going, start getting these new faces there. And then when you are ready for Charlotte, to put somebody over, maybe Triple H can have a conversation with her, because I don't know who the fuck any of these talent are thinking that they could just run this shit. Triple H was on Andrew Schultz's podcast, and he's sitting there talking about WCW inmates running the asylum. Well, if Charlotte is getting flustered and she doesn't, maybe it's her ego, she doesn't want to put somebody over, whatever it may be, that's a problem with leadership. And if these people aren't there to really help each other, like, get over, they shouldn't be on the program at all. There's tons and tons of women who are ready to take that throne. Charlotte being part-time is actually going to benefit Charlotte, and it will get to the point where people eventually, they got tired of Roman Reigns, but he went part-time. He started doing less and less, and it made him feel more special.
And it made the shows better, too. I feel like every time she's on there, it's just, let me reach for the remote control and change the channel. I care nothing about what she's in. I don't remember anything she's in. I don't remember a single fucking title reign that she's had. It's just to a point where we made a lot of good points here tonight. And I'm going, unfortunately, my heart wants Tiffany, but my mind can't wrap itself around the fact that Charlotte's going to walk into WrestleMania and not walk out with the Women's Championship. So unfortunately, I have to go with Charlotte Flair. Angle, who are you going with?
I think we lost Angle.
There he is.
I'm back. Sorry, there was just like a slight lag.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Tiffany Stratton because that's the right call.
All right, Jesse, who are you going with?
I don't think it's right under any circumstances to reward Charlotte Flair with a WrestleMania win this year.
I agree.
With this build. And it's only going to be detrimental to someone you are trying to make the future. So I mean, I think it's an extremely poor choice if they go with Charlotte. It has to be Tiffany's choice.
Yeah, I agree. That post SmackDown is going to be fucking awful if Charlotte walks out with the championship. They do not know what they're getting into if that decision is made. Santi, who are you going with here?
Charlotte's winning this. Everything we all said, like, it's so true. Like, I don't want to see that, but like, if you ask me, like, gun to my head, and I have to be right, I'm going to take Charlotte. You know how many times I've been burned picking not Charlotte? I'm picking Charlotte.
Hold on. What did you say, Santi? You said death, taxes, and what?
Death, taxes, and Charlotte Flair winning championships after injury.
Damn it.
It sound like me with Mercedes, man. I'm not picking anybody else until Mercedes loses.
Until you make it happen, man. I think we got to move on, man. That's ridiculous. Charlotte more than likely walking out with a women's championship. Unfortunately, we'll see what comes of that. But Evolution 2 is rumored to be happening in Connecticut in July. I do not think this is a one and done. I do think we get a rematch out of it. But I don't know if Charlotte wins the championship, what a rematch with Tiffany's going to do if Tiffany's only going to win and win the championship back from Charlotte. I think that's counterproductive. But in WWE's eyes, that may be the situation that makes Tiffany into a bigger star. I don't really. I think making Tiffany into a bigger star by having her win at WrestleMania, which is the biggest show of the year, is the star-making performance that she needs.
And they could keep the story going after too.
They could.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't.
Charlotte doesn't have. Charlotte does not have to win any matches in this series of matches. I don't know why we have to go trade wins back and forth, but that's what they want to do. World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther is walking in the World Heavyweight Champion against Jey Uso, who won the 2025 Royal Rumble. Shocked everybody because I know everybody, including me, I'm sure you guys as well, had either John Cena or CM Punk as walking out the Royal Rumble winner this year. He did end up choosing Gunther at WrestleMania despite having an 0-3 record against him after he won the Royal Rumble. They have feuded previously, and he does not have a win over Gunther. Everything really intensified on the February 10th episode of Monday Night Raw, which Jey did declare his challenge to Gunther. Right now, we're looking at a story coming out of the Royal Rumble, guys, where it didn't really get started until, I would say, maybe 5 weeks ago. And it got started because WWE had this long stretch of WrestleMania build, and they didn't really have any idea where they wanted to go. Luckily, they added Jimmy Uso into this, and this is the change of plan that I did not expect to see coming because Jimmy announced he wanted to go after the United States Championship, so something went off in creative, and they moved Jimmy from that into a position where I actually think he fits best. So he went to go defend his brother. It was a tag team match. We got the Usos back together against A-Town Down, or the A-Town Down Under. And Gunther, in this entire build over the last 4 weeks, has made it personal by attacking Jimmy Uso. He bathed in his blood. The great visual of Gunther just standing there with all the blood of Jimmy on his chest. And it just looked like a scene out of The Walking Dead. It looked great. Jey was handcuffed to the ring or zip-tied to the ring. He came out the next week and cut a very impassioned, serious promo on Gunther. Gunther didn't say anything. So next week, Gunther comes out this past Monday. He says exactly what he needed to say. That was the best promo of Gunther's career. Things have really taken a nice personal turn going into WrestleMania. And a lot of people still don't understand why Jey Uso's in this position, don't understand why Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, and why Triple H is thinking about crowning Jey Uso as the World's Heavyweight Champion. But he said this with Peter Rosenberg yesterday. A lot of people think, and there's a lot of criticism of this, that it's just the in-ring product. It's just how technically good of a wrestler you are. Make me a list of the greatest performers in this business, and that list will be 2/3 people that were worse than the majority of the list of great workers that didn't get to the top. Jey has great athletic ability, and the things he does in the ring, he does well. Is he the most technical guy out there? No. Is he the greatest performer on the face of the earth in ring? No. But he has charisma and a likability that he lets people in, and they want to see him succeed. So when you walk into a building with 10,000, 30,000, 60,000 people, and he walks out, and that whole place is doing his entrance with him, and is hanging on everything he does, and are hanging on his words, hanging on his moments, that's what it takes to be a top guy. It's about box office, and Jey's proving what he said he was, which is main event, Jey Uso, whether some people like that or not. Clearly, we know that's exactly why he's in the position he is, because there was a report that came out after the Royal Rumble that Netflix had a lot to do with the decision on Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. So I'm not really surprised by that. So no matter the politics aside, to me, I'm glad that WWE went with somebody like Jey Uso, just for the simple fact that everybody chose Punk, everybody chose John Cena, and everybody was complaining that Triple H played it safe. So at the Royal Rumble, he made one creative decision that was unsafe, and people still criticized him for it. Now, I get the build has been lacking coming out of the Royal Rumble, but the last 4 weeks, we'll start with you, Santi. I feel like this has been tremendous. It's actually taken it to a level where it does finally feel like a WrestleMania match. And what do you make of the criticism, even still, of the fans not wanting to see Jey Uso win the match and win the World Heavyweight Championship? There's even movements that Gunther should win this match. Gunther for world champion. Gunther needs to walk out of WrestleMania as the world champion. How do you feel about the build we've seen over the last 5 weeks? And how do you feel about Jey Uso winning, because he is the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania?
I will say this first about Gunther. I wish we'd gotten this Gunther a lot more, not just in this feud, but in like all the other feuds that he's had. I hated like shy, scared Gunther against Damian Priest. Like, no, like I want like the bloodthirsty ring general, and we finally got it. And it's a shame that we got it so close to when he's going to inevitably lose the World Heavyweight Championship. But post WrestleMania, I want to see more of this Gunther specifically. I'm so happy they figured out this feud. This feud, fellas, I lost like 15 years of my life complaining about the first several weeks of this feud. I was so angry and upset as to how they were booking all of this. From the onset, I just said, let's just bring family into this. Why are we afraid to dive into the tag team past? I know you're trying to make him a single star, but this is a guy that's always been interconnected by family, whether it was with the bloodline, with his brother. It's always been about family. It's right there. It's so simple. Book it around that. But then instead they tried something else that just wasn't working. And it finally clicked once they pivoted to the thing that they should have just started with in the first place, which was the insertion of Jey Uso. Thank God, by the way, that they didn't go with the Jey Uso forgot how to wrestle because he's scared of Gunther. When I'm like, oh my God, he's tripping, he's falling, they're leaning into the botch. This is a terrible idea. I'm glad that they dropped that and focused on family, because ever since they added Jey Uso to this story, this has been fixed. They magically went from something I was entirely uninterested in, frustrated even, to I'm like, man, had you done this the entire time, this might have been in conversation for the main event of night one at WrestleMania. Like, had you treated it like this the entire way. It's like they tried a bunch of different things with this feud, and they finally just went with the obvious one that they should have gone with in the beginning, and they realized, all right, this is what we should be running with. I'm excited for this. I am now, but I wasn't initially. We talked about some of the pros and cons of the really long WrestleMania build. This is one that definitely suffered from the really, really long WrestleMania build, because the last couple of weeks is really what's brought this feud together. In terms of fan, backlash regarding Jey Uso, this is one of those situations where, like, I agree with Triple H when he says that online sentiment can sometimes be BS. Here's the thing. I think he's lumping the obvious BS ones like this because, yeah, there's a loud minority online that doesn't like Jey Uso being in this position. But yeah, like, look at the arena. It's going insane. Like that to me is the real canary in the coal mine. So I disagree with the online fan sentiment that Jey Uso doesn't deserve to be there, because at the end of the day, like, the most popular guy, the guy that moves merch, the guy that puts butts in seats, the guy that creates cool atmospheres, that's the guy that's historically always in the history of the WWE has always been on top. The John Cenas of the world, the Hulk Hogans of the world, the Stone Colds of the world. Maybe you don't like this guy's matches. Sure. I see some validity to that argument. But at the end of the day, it's always the entertainment factor that comes in first. And money is what comes in first. And I think Jey Uso delivers on all of those. So I'll finish it at, I wish that they had done what they done in the last 4 weeks, like the entire time.
Yeah, I agree. I think the build has suffered greatly because of the extended WrestleMania season. There was like a good stretch, 4 or 5 weeks, where Gunther came out legitimately on Raw saying he's going to bring hell to Jey Uso, and every segment was him in a sleeper hold. And I'm like, this is the hell that you're going to drag Jey Uso through? Come on. I mean, we gotta do something more than that. Ango, how many people online are not even thinking about the popularity of Jey Uso and what he means to the business, and are just simply basing all of their feeling on what happened last year at WrestleMania when he wrestled Jimmy in one of the more disappointing WrestleMania matches, maybe of all time. There was a lot of hype around that. That didn't go the way that it wanted. Even both brothers knew that, listen, the match sucked. But I don't really understand the online sentiment here in regards to Jey Uso, because I feel a lot of people are really pinpointing that and really kind of blaming Jey for that and placing their hatred on Jey Uso coming out of last year's WrestleMania. But I said all through this build, especially when it's gotten really good, he's in there with one of the best pro wrestlers on the face of the earth. Gunther does not have bad matches. And if Jey is going to have a great fucking WrestleMania match with the proper WrestleMania moment, he's in the ring with nobody better than Gunther. I mean, he's top elite in the company. He's going to get what he gets, and he's in there with the right guy.
Fake outrage.
Yeah.
The Jey Uso hate is fake outrage. I'm going to explain why. 2 reasons. 1, these are the same people that complain about WWE never giving you anything new. They gave you something new. This is a guy who organically got over. The Yeet movement, everything was organic. It happened organically. That's the first thing. 2, I think WWE is playing the long-term game here with Jey Uso. So I want to say this because I want this to be on the record amongst you men. On the day that he won the Royal Rumble, I called it out, and I am very, very confident this is the play. Jey Uso wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso will be dropping the World Heavyweight Championship to Sami Zayn. And there's going to be cinema all over. These people who are so mad about Jey Uso are the same people who be yelling cinema during Bloodline storylines. We're getting that. Sami Zayn's been written off TV. He's missing WrestleMania. Jey Uso wins. And Sami Zayn turning heel against his his boy, the one that they have all that history with. That's how we get it. Sami Zayn got his ass kicked by Kevin Owens, right? Maybe he learned a thing or two from Kevin Owens. And that's going to be the real start of it. And then the cool thing is we get Gunther away from the World Heavyweight Championship. There's some storylines you can go with him and Ludwig Kaiser. There's a lot of different directions you can go. But mark my words, Jey Uso's World Heavyweight Championship reign, people are going to be going back to posting those memes. Cinema. It's happening. Mark my words.
Man, that's quite the bold prediction there. I listen, I don't want to start booking him as the champion and then immediately booking him to lose the championship. He hasn't even won it yet.
No. Long-term storytelling. That's the Triple H thing, man. It's the long-term vision.
I know. If Jey does win, which I'm pretty confident he will at WrestleMania here, I don't really see him having a long run as champion. And if Braun Breaker is set to lose that championship, which we'll talk about coming up on night 2 with his Fatal 4-Way defending that IC title, I could see someone like Braun Breaker moving on into the main event scene and taking that belt off Jey Uso, revisiting their feud. You mentioned Sami Zayn. I don't know if that works, in my opinion, because if you think long term, the Royal Rumble is in Saudi next year, and Sami is hugely popular in Saudi. Why wouldn't you have Sami go into Saudi as a babyface, have him win the Royal Rumble in Saudi, and have him win the World Championship at next year's WrestleMania?
That's always an opportunity for them to explore, but I think WWE is... I don't even think him being in Saudi has to mean that he's a babyface, quite frankly. If I'm just being honest, I think WWE knows deep down inside the real money is with a Sami Zayn and Jey Uso feud. You revisit the bloodline thing, and there's that history there, and I think people will emotionally connect to it. And you can't have Sami as a babyface winning the world championship because Sami is also a product of, getting stale from being the babyface. And if you look at all the things that have happened on TV, especially with his interactions with Kevin Owens and everybody else, because of the bloodline and Cody, like Sami Zayn's mind isn't really there. And now that he's been written off TV, it's like a perfect scenario of, hey, let's change things up a little bit. And he has every reason to turn against Jey Uso. So it's perfect, man. And with Saudi Royal Rumble, that's the time where you can have the winner of that Royal Rumble go after the WWE Championship. If, I don't know, you guys want LA Knight to propel, have him win in Saudi. Like, you could do a lot of different things, but it doesn't have to be for the World Heavyweight Championship.
It certainly creates a different dynamic with Sami. I'm a big Sami guy, so that could be very interesting. Jesse, how do you feel about Jey Uso and the online fake outrage, which I do agree with Angle. It's all fake outrage. Is the outrage for Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble all because their favorites, John Cena and CM Punk, didn't win the Royal Rumble? What's your take on this?
I'm not sure. I mean, why the outrage over it? I mean, the guy is an over babyface. I mean, what is the problem? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't understand the fake outrage, you know. But I will say this though, I think that they are forcing Jey Uso just a little bit past what I believe is his ceiling. I do think he falls in that just top of the mid-card type guy. And yes, they are taking a chance on a new guy, and I can entirely appreciate that. But I feel like this whole Yeet movement thing is just them trying to recreate the Yes movement in a way. They have a chant that the crowd loves to do, the visual of the show with the whole crowd doing the same thing in unison, you know, together along with the music. It's great fucking television. You know, it is. But it just doesn't automatically qualify him to be world championship material, in my opinion. You know, I do think that they are taking a chance on him, but I think his lack of in-ring ability is giving the naysayers something to hold on to. And also you give his last name, and you got to kind of feel like there's a little bit of a nepo action going on, looking at who Triple H's boss is now. You know what I'm saying? And I think in a normal world, I think Triple H would not pull the trigger and go with a Jey Uso win, but I don't think it's in his hands anymore because of The Rock. And the Anoa'i family is known for showing their displeasure when it comes to big ticket matches at WrestleMania and their family not getting the outcome that they preferred. So, I mean, it's going to happen. It's fine. I'm not against Jey Uso, but I just do understand a little bit of the backlash he's getting. I get it. I don't think it's as big of a deal as a lot of these people are trying to make it out to be. I mean, Jey Uso, I mean, he is over. I mean, it's not fake. He sells merch. I don't think that should be the telling factors of someone getting their push. Al Snow led the company in merch sales with the fucking styrofoam head. That doesn't mean put a world championship on him.
Well, at some point you got to back it up in the ring, right? I mean, he's not bad in the ring, but he's not great either. It's not. It doesn't live up to his moniker of main event Jey Uso. He's not a main event guy. He doesn't wrestle like a main event guy.
Exactly. I mean, I just think he's great at the mid card. I think he's great at the mid card, and I think trying to push past that, sure, give it a shot. But I think this run has proved that it's not quite given the results that they thought it would get.
Yeah, I partially agree there. Santi, you know, Jesse mentioned the Yes movement, comparing it to the Yeet movement. And I know a lot of people are enamored with Jey Uso. They love him. Obviously, WrestleMania, WWE is about making that moment. That's the big thing that they're hanging on. This was a vision of Triple H's back. I mean, he said that the decision for Jey Uso to win the Rumble happened late November, early December. He was set on that. He had a vision. He was ready for that moment to happen, and that's what the company really kind of ingrains themselves in, that WrestleMania moment. But has WWE overexposed or abused the entrance and the theme music and the yeet of Jey Uso to a point where it's actually angered fans more so? They've done that more than actually showcase him in the ring, done that more than actually show that he can actually cut a promo, done that more instead of telling a proper story for Jey Uso. How much of it is WWE just kind of overdoing it with the yeet stuff and the entrance and the theme music? And is that the reason why people are now kind of frustrated that Jey Uso is in the position that he's in?
I don't think that's the reason people are frustrated. I feel like people were going to be frustrated either way. I think a lot of people online made their decision up about Jey Uso, regardless of whether he's yeeting or not yeeting. I don't think that it necessarily helps his case. It didn't help the case of this feud. That's where I had a problem with all of the yeeting. Like the previous weeks, he gets choked out by Gunther, and then he goes out there, yeets for 5 minutes, and then he goes, I'll play my music again. Let's yeet for another 5 minutes. That just didn't really seem to connect with what was happening in the feud and the storyline. It happened in the Go Home episode as well, where Gunther cut like a diabolically good promo. You called it the best promo of his career. And then Jey Uso goes out there and reverts back to the hit my music again, and let's get back to yeeting. There is a disconnect.
Yeah.
I don't think that people just hate the yeet. I think there is a bit of a problem where WWE is maybe overexposing the Yeet too much to the point where it's actually clashing with the narrative that they're trying to tell with Gunther. I think, like, for me, that's the problem. I don't mind that he's yeeting. It's no different than the Daniel Bryan yes, if you think about it. It's over. It's a fun crowd engagement thing. But if you overexpose it and you make it like basically like part of the storyline, you start to notice the cracks between and almost like the lack of chemistry between what Gunther is saying and what Jey Uso is doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jey cut that great impassioned promo 2 weeks ago. Gunther cut that promo on Monday. And then in the same show, Jey Uso came out and stood on the desk for 5 minutes and not only did one Yeet session with the crowd, but he did two with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. That is the disconnect that Santi's talking about because, in my opinion, if I was in control and I had the pen for Monday Night Raw, I wouldn't have even showed Jey Uso on Monday night after Gunther cut that promo because that disconnect is so big. I would have just saved it for Saturday, which apparently they're opening the show on Saturday night for WrestleMania Night 1. I would have just saved it then. I don't know why they couldn't wait fucking 6 days to save all that excitement. So him yeeting after Gunther cut that promo, I get why they did it, but I did not like the follow-up there. So I'm assuming we're all going with Jey Uso winning the World Heavyweight Championship here. Yeah, the moment's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of women's world championships, we talked about Tiffany, Stratton, Charlotte, Flair. The other one, it's happening on night 1 as well. Io Sky. Actually, no, is this night 2? I think this is night 2. We'll talk about it anyway. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. This is happening for the women's world heavyweight championship triple threat. Now, Bianca earns her title shot by winning the Women's Elimination Chamber initially, obviously setting up the Rhea and Bianca feud, which everybody kind of wanted. I'll get back to that in a second. However, Io shocked everybody by winning the championship on Monday Night Raw a few weeks later, and Io won the championship, which kind of set in motion what potentially could have been a Rhea maybe heel turn or a Rhea character change at least, just kind of showing us a different vibe of Rhea following the loss of the Judgment Day and the Judgment Day kind of doing their own thing and Damian Priest going over to SmackDown. So Rhea at this point looked to be going under a character change, and then she kind of interjects herself into Io and Bianca's business to a point where she gets another rematch. She gets another rematch under the guise of Bianca going to be the special guest referee. Now, Bianca's the special guest referee because Rhea, like a fool, shoved Bianca during that first Io match and blamed Bianca for cheering Io and not Rhea. And Rhea blamed Bianca because she's afraid of me. She's choosing Io. She's cheering Io because she doesn't want to wrestle me because she's afraid of me. It didn't make any sense. I was actually not really invested in that explanation. But moving on, we get the Bianca Belair special guest referee spot, and Bianca just throws the match out. This is all Adam Pearce is doing. So we all know where it's going. They're taking a page of the WrestleMania 20 playbook with Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, and Triple H. I get it. Has this been a convoluted build to where we started with Bianca winning the Elimination Chamber to where we see it now? Angle, I'll start with you. All three women are fucking great. Three of the best women that the company has. I know a lot of people wanted Rhea and Bianca as the WrestleMania match, but Io's now involved. Me personally, I thought Io and Rhea at WrestleMania would have been more than sufficient here, but now we got three. How do you feel about the triple threat and how we got here? And does it kind of convolute things with all three of them being involved?
So, yes, it's a very convoluted build. I definitely agree with that. I think how we got there is questionable in certain cases. However, these are three talents that I'm just a really big fan of, and I'm not going to lie. This is where I really don't care about the build. I'm just happy the match is going to happen. I genuinely believe that. I think this is going to be a very, very fun match to watch. I think if you're somebody who really wants to talk about women's wrestling, these three women are going to go out there and absolutely kill it. So, yeah, I'm actually really excited for this match. I think the build, it's a little too much. I feel like I think they did way more than they needed to be honest, with this match. And I don't think it was necessary. But this is the perfect opportunity for all three of them to go out there, get their stuff in there. And, in my belief, I think Io should be walking out as champion, which having her win the title on the road to WrestleMania was an interesting choice. But the fact that they did that, I feel like put a little bit more confidence in me to say, hey, Io is going to win. She's going to carry the division for 2025. And then we're going to get something with Rhea and Bianca, who I believe both of them kind of needed to shake things up anyways. So if this is the vehicle to get there, I'm totally cool with it.
So Rhea won the championship from Liv Morgan on January 6th. Santi, were you okay with the decision to kind of shake things up in the middle of WrestleMania season by having Io win the championship? How do you feel about them putting the title on Rhea? So I guess not suddenly, because I think everybody knew where it was going, but then taking her in this situation and then taking the belt off of her so suddenly. Did you agree with that decision?
I'm never not going to agree with Io Sky winning world championships. Could you make sense out of it? Sure. Could you point out that it's illogical? Sure. I will say, I think the problem with this feud isn't the match. Like, this is a match where I'm like, if given the right amount of time, this is just going to be straight up the best match of the night.
Yeah.
I can't see like any other match from an in-ring talent being better than this, like on paper. I think the problem with this feud was, and this is something that I pointed out numerous times in several of my videos, is that in their attempt to be logical, they ended up being illogical. So what I mean by that is, in their attempt to logically find a way to get Rhea back into the match with a #1 contendership, they overdid things. Then they put themselves in an illogical position by having a match where Bianca Belair, who straight up said, I don't know how to be a ref, you make her the special guest referee just to create more animosity between the three of them. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It just sort of felt like you were just throwing things at the wall and trying to artificially elongate this feud in this really long road to WrestleMania. They tried too much. There were too many moving pieces, and they took too long to just add Rhea Ripley to the damn match. They took too many steps to just do the obvious thing of adding Rhea Ripley to the match. Had Rhea Ripley been officially part of the match much sooner, I feel like they could have created a much simpler, more less all over the place storyline between these three. So they took the convoluted approach in an attempt to try and get Rhea Ripley into the match in a logical way. And that, I think, took away from what these three women could have done from a story and narrative perspective in the lead up to this. I'm fine with the narrative that they're trying here with Io Sky being like the third wheel, because I think that's ultimately what's going to be the detriment of Rhea and Bianca. But more than anything, I'm just excited for the match itself, even if the build was just all over the goddamn place. It's interesting that this feud was kind of overexposed, and in the final episode, they're like, we're just not going to show them aside from just pre-recorded vignettes. And yeah, it seems like they were just sort of at times making things up as they went.
Yeah, I agree on that for sure. I don't really mind that they weren't even on Monday Night Raw. I mean, the less said, the better here. They've done and just kind of exhausted everything that they could for these three ladies. Jesse, the storyline obviously is focusing on Belair's trying to reclaim the championship here. Ripley's quest to get the championship back that she lost to, from Io. And then obviously, like Santi said, Io just being the underdog and kind of the third wheel here, and them not really taking her to be serious. And then Io just kind of mustering up that attitude saying, listen, you two need to start taking me serious. I'm the champion and you both are chasing me. So there's this subtle tension between Belair and Rhea Ripley. But the thing that we noticed, especially on the European tour, all three of those shows, is Bianca actually got booed in most of those towns or most of those cities. And a lot of people are starting to think, is Bianca going heel? Is this the start of a Bianca Belair heel turn? Because I just don't see them turning Rhea Ripley. She's just way too over with the audience. Do you see Bianca eventually coming out of this feud, going and turning heel, whether it's against Rhea Ripley or if they reinsert her into the Naomi Jade storyline? Do you see Bianca going heel? And if so, is it something that is needed for her character? Because I certainly think so. She's gotten very vanilla. It's been very stale. And like I've been saying, if John Cena is allowed to go heel and we pull the trigger on John Cena, there is no hesitation to turn Bianca Belair heel.
No, I mean, it's needed. It's warranted. You know, it makes sense. And the main roster has not seen a heel Bianca Belair, and they're missing out because she is a better heel than she is babyface, and she has been a fantastic babyface. You know, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, it's you know, a good babyface run, you know, for most talent has a shelf life. You know, you can only be the lovable babyface for so long before, you know, eventually heel turn is needed. For most, you know, I mean, everything doesn't apply to everyone, but they don't know what they're missing. If you didn't watch NXT and got heel Bianca, they don't know what they're missing. They don't know what they're in for, man. And it's going to be a thing of beauty. But for right now, you know, my girl Io is entering WrestleMania as world champion, and everything is right in the world, man. So, yeah, I'm loving this right now. Rhea Ripley was absolutely inexplicably shoehorned into this feud, though, for sure.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. I appreciate them taking a risk and trying to throw a wrench into the gears per se, but you know, like everybody has kind of agreed here, it did get convoluted. But I think one sentiment is going to come out of this. No matter how we got there, this match could legitimately be a match of the night for WrestleMania. So I'm going Io. Angle, you going Io?
Yes, sir.
Jesse's going Io. Santi?
Yeah, yo.
Io's going to walk out, still the women's champion. Main event of night one, triple threat match. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins with Paul Heyman as the focus here. Who's Paul Heyman going to walk out with is everybody's discussion. So this was made into a main event match here because of the contract that Paul Heyman delivered to CM Punk a couple of weeks ago. CM Punk eliminated both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins from the Royal Rumble. That actually started everything going on here. Rollins retaliated at the Rumble by stomping Reigns and took him out, and he was out for several weeks. So that led to Rollins continuing his feud with CM Punk, and it bled into the Elimination Chamber where Punk and Cena were the last two, and Rollins actually aided John Cena in eliminating CM Punk. So the feud escalated on the March 10th episode of Monday Night Raw when Reigns returned from a 6-week absence, attacking both Punk and Rollins during their steel cage match. And now Paul Heyman is involved. So ever since the War Games situation, CM Punk was in War Games and agreed to do War Games under the guise of, you owe me a favor. I'll do this for your guy. I'll do this for your tribal chief, but you owe me a favor. Nobody knew what that was. All the speculation was he's going to cash in his favor and get a championship match or a main event match or whatever the case may be. As the weeks went on, we kind of realized what it was going to be because it could only be one thing. Everything else didn't really make sense. It's CM Punk wanting Paul Heyman to either leave Roman Reigns and join him permanently or at least walk him into WrestleMania as his wise man and not Roman's wise man. Now, I'm loving what's going on here. Punk is a master of his craft. He's a master storyteller. Roman Reigns is Roman Reigns. He's just main event. He just exudes main event. But the one guy that I have been most pleased with in this entire build, and I'll start with you, Ango, is Seth Rollins. I think everything that Rollins has said up until this point has been absolutely impeccable. And I said that on social media. Everything he said, dating back to his feud with Roman Reigns in the early days of the Shield, why he turned, going into last year's WrestleMania, why he sided with Cody, taking everything away from Roman. He does not want Roman to get back to that position of power that he had last year going into WrestleMania. Everything he said about Punk, he's a snake. He's using Paul Heyman. He doesn't give a shit about you. He's even now casting doubt on Roman Reigns because Paul Heyman is a snake. Rollins has been absolutely perfect in everything here, and I'm going here with Rollins to win this triple threat match. And I do think that Paul Heyman's going to end up getting involved with Roman and Punk and eventually walk out, leaving Rollins to pick the bones and pin CM Punk at WrestleMania. What have you made of the Paul Heyman inclusion, and how you feeling about this overall build?
So March 11th was the day that I came out and publicly spoke about it on my live show where I said Seth Rollins is walking out with Paul Heyman. At that time, I swear to God on everything, I had not seen one person talk about it. And WWE at that point in time did not even allude to anything being there. But just in my head, I kept thinking, I'm like, man, this whole storyline with all three of them, Seth Rollins needs a character change. And I put it out there, and it was really crazy because the next day, I'm seeing all these aggregating accounts coming up with, graphic design with them leaving together. And it got me thinking, I'm like, that's got to be the move, right? The more and more that I think about it, I do believe that Seth Rollins is walking away with Paul Heyman. The question to me that I have, though, is do they have Seth win? Being that this is Punk's first Mania main event, I'm curious if there's a scenario in which maybe WWE has Seth Rollins walk out with Paul Heyman, causing him to go into a singles feud with Roman Reigns, and then CM Punk picking up the win and walking out victorious to send the crowd home happy. I don't know. I'm very curious to see if there's a scenario where they can do that storyline wise, where Seth could actually lose but still walk out with Heyman, because I do believe they are walking out together.
Why do you think? Does that make sense? How does that make sense with Rollins and Heyman? Does Rollins even need someone like Paul Heyman?
No, he doesn't. But the thing is, Seth Rollins has been doing the same old thing forever, and it's a welcome change. And I think, with Punk and Roman, I think that's a huge singles feud. I think obviously Seth and Roman's a huge singles feud. I think you do it for the sake of just doing something different. Paul Heyman's torn at this point. Roman pretty much doesn't even give a shit about him. Punk does to a certain extent, but he kind of held over this favor with Paul Heyman, over his head for a little while. So to me, it's just, I don't know. I think the right move here is to have Seth win. I think he deserves it after what he's done the last few years, basically carrying WWE Raw on his back. I think you have him walk out with Paul Heyman, and that's just a good way for Seth to get some revenge. Not even revenge, but to build that beautiful single storyline with him and Roman that we never truly got.
Yeah, I do think coming out of this, it's going to be Rollins and Reigns at some point feuding, and I'm ready for that. I think it's long overdue. Santi, we talk about Paul Heyman being in this and being the spotlight, the centerpiece of this feud. With the inclusion of the favor getting the main event for CM Punk, and then Punk coming out with that great cliffhanger saying, listen, that's not the favor that I'm owed. And we had to wait till the following week, which we then found out he wanted Paul Heyman to leave Roman Reigns, at least for WrestleMania, and walk him into WrestleMania. Was that enough for you after looking at all the different variables and all the different scenarios that were thrown around on social media? It should be for a world championship opportunity, or the winner of this match should go and get added to the main event of night 2 with Cody and John Cena, or there should be a number 1 contendership on the line where the winner of this gets the main event of Backlash. Was the favor of Paul Heyman walking into WrestleMania with CM Punk enough for you to make this, I would say, a main event match at WrestleMania?
The short answer is yes. Let me give you the long answer now. Look, I know that a lot of people wanted this to be winner goes to night 2. I just always felt like the people that were thinking that way were setting themselves up for disappointment. That just wouldn't have made any sense unless you were connecting Cena and Cody, their story with the triple threat here. It would have just felt a little bit shoehorned. This was the necessary favor that it needed to be to make this triple threat actually make sense, because we had hatred between Punk and Seth and Roman, but there was no hatred between Punk and Roman. Adding Paul Heyman here is what created the proper triangle where it connects all 3 of these guys and creates a grudge and a hate between all 3 of them. So I think it was the necessary favor, albeit not the most glamorous favor, because championships and all of that, number 1 contendership definitely would have been more glamorous. But I think adding Heyman into the mix the way that they did was the most necessary favor to make this into the main event that it ultimately ended up being. I do want to talk about the whole Seth Rollins situation, because I agree. I think Seth Rollins has been the gem here. And I love that we've been kind of getting this architect Seth Rollins, kind of gaslighting and manipulating. And the way that I'm interpreting what Seth Rollins has been doing is that he recognizes that he's the one at a disadvantage in this match. He's the one that doesn't have the favor of Paul Heyman. So instead of aligning himself with Paul Heyman, he is turning Paul Heyman's head away from both of these guys, so he becomes an asset in the way that he could get in Roman and Punk's way, as opposed to an asset helping them win. That's how I see it. I ultimately don't see Rollins walking out with Paul Heyman, but I see him winning because of Paul Heyman in some way, shape, or form. Paul Heyman's going to be rocking a hard place, doesn't know how to choose. My co-host of my podcast came up with what I thought was a brilliant idea. What if at some point in the match, Seth Rollins is holding Paul Heyman hostage, about to hit him with a stomp, and then we figure out which one of the 2 of Punk and Roman actually cares enough about Paul Heyman to stop what they're doing to go help the wise man. I would think that moment would be brilliant. But I think Seth Rollins is walking out because of Heyman. And I don't want him to walk out with Heyman, because I do think that we need to follow up with Punk and Roman. And if you remove Paul Heyman out of the equation, and if he's off gallivanting with Seth Rollins, Punk and Roman doesn't have that juiciness behind it. You need Paul Heyman in that equation, because I think that's the follow-up for SummerSlam. I got Seth Rollins winning. I love the addition of Paul Heyman. It's what truly connected all 3 of these guys in a way that they needed to be connected.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. Which is why I said I don't know why we're even going with Reigns and CM Punk now at WrestleMania. I was dead set on Punk and Rollins in some sort of stipulation match. I thought it was way too soon to even be doing Punk and Reigns this early in the year. I thought it was definitely going to be more towards SummerSlam and maybe this being the summer of Punk 25. But here we are. I know, Jesse, you're a big CM Punk guy, and he's your favorite wrestler. How do you feel about this overall feud, and how do you feel as... I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you respect his level of storytelling and you respect what he brings to the in-ring aspect of what he does. I know you might not be a fan of how he's handled certain things in the past, but from a CM Punk fan to a then disgruntled CM Punk fan to see him in the main event of this WrestleMania, how do you feel about that, seeing that he's finally gotten his WrestleMania main event?
What do you mean, man? All hail Phil Brooks. Let's start off right there, okay? Phil has never done anything wrong. Let's get that out in the open. I feel like Seth is playing the role of EO in this triple threat match. And I think the conflict over this Paul Heyman on a pole match is going to cancel Punk and Roman out in this. And Punk is on record saying that he doesn't care about the outcome. He just wants to be in the main event. Now, again, it's still not the main event. The main event is the last match of the whole goddamn show. So, that being said, I'm looking at Seth to walk out of this. I think Roman is doing what Charlotte Flair should be doing. And Roman is now on his tour as he is now a part-timer. Someone else is the babyface world champion. I think Roman is doing his thing by helping others get their spotlight. What's Roman doing right now to help others? He's helping CM Punk get his main event match. Even pointed that out in the contract signing segment. They had Punk out there bending the knee because of Roman. Punk is getting his main event match. And that's Roman's role here. To carry through this story, that's Roman's role here. Punk just happy to be there. And I think Seth is going to come out on top to continue the story that they're going to tell after Saturday. Sorry.
This is for all three of you guys. I know there are a bunch of scenarios out there, and I've even floated it out there that we haven't really gotten anything mentioned from Cena in regards to The Rock. Now, I don't know how they end this show. I think ending the show with Rollins walking out with the W because Paul Heyman is just so fed up with Reigns and CM Punk is a boring way to go off the air. If Punk wins and they go home happy, it's a boring way to go off the air. I'm looking for some drama. I'm looking for some volatile environment. I'm looking for a nice cliffhanger going in tonight, too. What do you make of the discussion, because I know you guys have heard it, of Rollins eventually joining The Rock and being that fucking mysterious or what's now fucking fabled third man in the Rock Hollywood stable with Cena, Travis Scott, and The Rock? Do you think that Seth Rollins has it within him?
Travis Scott.
Do you think Rollins has it within him to turn heel, finally understand that what he needs to do to end Roman is to join The Rock, and we get some sort of Rock, Rollins, and Cena alliance, maybe when add Drew McIntyre in there as well and just make a super group, and that is what eventually leads to Reigns and Rock eventually at WrestleMania, maybe next year. Do you see that scenario playing out? Because I know a lot of people have talked about Rollins going heel and potentially joining The Rock. Santi, I'll start with you. Do you think that's even a feasible idea or a way to end the show on night one going into night two?
I feel like my community has gaslighted me into believing this.
Yeah.
Never once did it cross my mind. If it did cross my mind, I'm like, no fucking way, that makes no sense. But now somehow people are making it make sense, and it's throwing me for a goddamn loop. It would be poetic in a way if WrestleMania 40 ended with Seth Rollins putting his body on the line to help Cody Rhodes win. And now we flip that script and it's Seth Rollins now costing Cody Rhodes that WrestleMania main event. It would definitely get people talking. I don't know, like, gut feeling right now if it's the right call or not. I have to see it play out. I have to see what the chaos looks like to truly be able to say, this is what I want to see or don't want to see. If you were asking me, could I see it? I think now the answer is yes, I could see it. But if I'm a betting man, I would still say probably not.
That's interesting. I'm thinking Rollins turns heel regardless. I don't know if he joins The Rock or not, but I feel like we gotta. I know Reigns is part-time. I think there's only a few matches I want to see Reigns in. One is against The Rock, obviously CM Punk, And I would love to see him in a feud with Rollins. And I do think Jacob Fatu is on that list as well. There's not much for Reigns to do. He just said that after this contract is up, he's got maybe 2 more years after that. And there's not really much I want to see him do in his part-time schedule. I would love to see it just because of the sheer unpredictability of it. I know my community has also gaslighted me into thinking that this could potentially happen as well, where others have laughed at me. Ango, what do you think about this potentially being the bridge to getting Roman and Rock in the ring, with Rollins turning heel and eventually aligning himself with The Rock?
It's simple. My theory this entire time is that's why Paul Heyman ends up walking out with Seth, because Seth and Paul Heyman walking out of night 1 together, really it's going to make you want to tune in for night 2. And then if Seth sells his soul, the good news is, people are saying, well, why do they need to have other people sell their soul? The solution to that is you want to have a guy who is constantly there, especially if John Cena wins the belt and he's not there and he truly runs away with it, right? So Seth is always there. He's always reliable. You have him and Paul Heyman carrying everything for this new group. And the beauty of it is long-term, okay, everybody wants Rock and Roman, right? How do we get there? Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that you could get in the process. You can have the WWE Avengers, which would be pretty damn cool to watch. Cody, Roman, CM Punk, somebody else go up against the Rock's group, right? So you have a whole bunch of storylines that you can delve into because of this. And I just wanted to say, like, Santi had that theory that his co-host on his show said. I love that theory. Like, that's a fun theory for me, because it's very logical and it makes a lot of sense. But I think if you really want that drama, you have Seth and Paul Heyman walk out together. Maybe you get a throat slash or something, I don't know, some sort of signal with your hands, or they do something as they go off air to make you believe, holy shit, they are joining The Rock. Like a nice little subtle tease. And then one other thing I want to say too, nobody's talking about Becky Lynch in this scenario, but if you look at the whole premise of why people are selling their soul to The Rock, it kind of makes a lot of sense, being the people's champion, being, backed by the corporate board member. Becky re-signed with the company. We haven't seen her. I'm kind of tired of this babyface shtick for Seth and Becky. Let's give them a more serious approach. And Becky could be a Paul Heyman girl, and they could kind of do this whole company takeover thing. And then, one of our concerns earlier was LA Knight. When these good guys have to go up against the bad guys in the process, maybe LA Knight could be that guy that could kind of come to the aid of Cody. Or if you really want, you can have, Ethan Page, who got endorsed by The Rock on NXT, and Ricky Saints, who is a good friend of Cody. Like, now you could start actually making some stars out of this in the process too. So multiple storylines could come from it. A character change that is well needed for Seth. It's not like he needs Paul Heyman, but the beauty of it is it's a trickle down effect into multiple different layers of WWE programming. And really what should happen is The Rock doesn't have to be there, but because of this Rock group and this whole takeover of TKO, now you get Triple H involved in the mix, right? And like, it could become a really, really big thing. And I like to compare it to like the Avengers. And I like it, man. I like the idea of forming a super group of good guys, teaming up together to take out the bad guys, and this is the way to get there. And then eventually it leads to Rock and Roman saves WWE from The Rock.
We saw heel Becky, and I personally never, ever want to see that again.
Yeah, that's. I mean, this would be this would be a different heel Becky. It's not going to be that bad, but
it sounds like nobody here would be satisfied if it was just a straight up finish, right? Like there needs to be.
I don't think it can be.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Jesse, how do you feel about Rollins? Well, I guess we've all come to the determination that Rollins could walk out with Paul Heyman, but not necessarily need Paul Heyman as his wise man or his manager. How do you feel with them walking out together and it being the bridge to a longer storyline where Rollins and Reigns get involved, and it leads to Reigns and Rock and Punk? He moves on to John Cena, which I do predict will happen either at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam as he chases the WWE Championship. How do you feel about this third man, this notion of the third man joining The Rock?
Yeah, I don't think Seth walks out with Paul Heyman. I see Seth leaving as the architect. Like he played all three of these guys and left them all sitting there, looking around like what the fuck just happened type deal. But Seth outsmarted them all, even the wise man. But I think about the path after this. I mean, Seth leaving with Paul Heyman is a great visual for this night, but now what? Because do we need Paul Heyman out there cutting promos for and with Seth Rollins? We do not. We really do not. Does it make sense going forward? Now they have to build around this going forward. And it really doesn't make any sense at all past this one evening. So, I mean, I think it'd be a great visual of Seth, again with the heist of the century, leaving CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman confused how he managed to manipulate all three of these guys and walk out as champion. That's a great visual. That's a great story. But I don't think Seth needs a Paul Heyman going forward, though.
So I think we are all in agreement that Rollins is going to walk out as the winner of the main event of night one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Easy.
There you go. Poor CM Punk. He gets his main event, but no W. It's coming, though. He'll get his main event win at WrestleMania.
Yeah, got another year after this,
Yeah, he'll be fine. Night two. We'll breeze through some of these because most of these don't really have any story, especially this one here. We'll start with this one on night two. AJ Styles, Logan Paul. Could be a banger match of the entire weekend for sure. But Logan Paul, obviously, social media megastar. He's really kind of embellished on how he's come in and has done this better than anybody. He's a WrestleMania fixture. A lot of what he's done so far has been excellent, whether you like him personally or not. AJ Styles, on the other hand, a veteran presence that I think a lot of the fan base wants to see in a better position on WWE television. This will be his 9th WrestleMania singles match. And the buildup, honestly, like I said, has been light on story, but it's focused on Logan Paul kind of stealing the show and AJ Styles' determination to still prove that he belongs in WWE and still operates at that elite level. But the caveat here is Karrion Kross. And we'll start with you, Santi. Karrion Kross, I feel like, could be a very good fixture if they feature him regularly on television. I think a lot of what he does is strategic. A lot of what he does is fine-tuned. He knows his character in and out better than anybody. And he has basically said to AJ that if you don't win this match, you're not only going to let me down, you're going to let that entire locker room down because you'll be losing to someone who's not one of us. So I like his inclusion in this, and I wish more of him in this storyline. I don't know if he's going to factor into the match or not at WrestleMania, but with that aside, I'm going with Logan Paul. How do you feel about this match taking place at WrestleMania? Again, you mentioned, I believe, the War Raiders and the New Day not being needed at WrestleMania. How do you feel about this match being on the card?
Oh, I mean, come on. You're comparing.
I know. But
apples.
I'm a story guy. It doesn't got any story,
Fair enough. But this is AJ Styles at the end of the day, and Logan Paul, who's a fantastic performer at WrestleMania in his own right. I wish there was a story. I really wish that there was. At the end of the day, what I care about between these two guys is that it's a good match, and I just want to see who's in the prime outfit this year again. That a Logan Paul victory at WrestleMania isn't like pinning somebody for the 3 count. It's getting the cool viral moment. That's what this is going to be about. Yeah. It's getting the 150 million views on social media, but then WWE will also tell you, we don't care about social media. Make up your goddamn mind, okay? Make it up. I'm excited about the Karrion stuff after WrestleMania. For the love of God, you can't keep Karrion Kross off of matches for months like you did. That was his first match on Raw Netflix. Like, that's insane to me. Karrion Kross is too.
That was his first match in September of 2024.
Ridiculous. Insane.
Crazy.
Absolutely insane. So I'm excited that this helped elevate Karrion Kross. This feud has elevated Karrion Kross more than it elevated AJ Styles or Logan Paul.
So we going with who you going with here? Logan Paul or AJ Styles?
I'm going with AJ Styles here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of lead. I don't know why I'm fixated on Logan Paul winning this match. I don't know, but I think Santi's right. I think AJ Styles is going to get this win. Ango, what do you think of this entire match? I know Santi's correct in that this is going to be a viral moment. It's going to be a viral match. I mean, Logan Paul is just incredible at what he does. AJ is incredible at what he does. How do you feel personally about this match and what we've gotten from both of them on TV?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I think the Karrion Kross inclusion definitely sold me more and more on this. I think I'm more curious about what happens to AJ after. And I think for me personally, what I would love to see is AJ win this match. And I would love for Karrion Kross, because he's so good with his mannerisms, I would love for Karrion Kross to stand on top of the ramp as AJ Styles is walking back. And I would just love for him to like try to embrace AJ, but AJ walking away confused. And the reason for that, and maybe you guys will disagree, but I would love to see AJ revert back to a heel, but immediately go up to the world championship picture. like immediately get back to the main event, because we know he's not going to be doing this much longer. So I would love to see him at some point just have one more serious run. And if he were to beat Logan Paul and Karrion Kross is right there, now that kind of sets up something to get excited about for Karrion Kross, who needs something, and AJ obviously as well, I think could benefit from that too. But yeah, this is going to have a great spot. There's going to be multiple great spots here. They're definitely going to go get their viral clips. And then I think Santi kind of mentioned like who's going to be under the Prime suit. I don't know, man. Do you do something where Karrion Kross takes the Prime suit and some bullshit? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying I would love to see Karrion Kross included in this, because AJ could propel forward, but why not include Karrion and then set up another program that way? How you go about it, I don't really care, but just do something to get me excited after this, because of the build hasn't really been like that special.
Yeah, there's something I like about an AJ Styles heel turn too. I think he works better as a heel than he does a babyface. You going AJ with this one?
Yeah.
All right, so Santi and Angle got AJ. Jesse, how you feeling about this match?
I think so. I think a lot of times, a lot of people, we forget that a lot of times WrestleMania and its booking, of the winners and the losers, sometimes that exists in a vacuum, because a lot of times people will go back and look at the history of WrestleMania. They'll look at WrestleMania in a linear fashion and look at the history of it and just look at who won and who lost. And I'm not sure if they want to have it in the history books that AJ Styles lost to Logan Paul. Even if it happens on a Raw or on a B card show, that's fine. But when you look at the history of everything, Logan Paul beat literally the phenomenal AJ Styles in a wrestling. How did that happen? So and not only that, I don't think it matters who wins for a Logan Paul match. I mean, because what you want is his best performance. And I don't think anybody's going to give Logan Paul an opportunity to have his best performance better than AJ Styles. And that's literally his whole goddamn thing. He's going to make Logan Paul look like a even bigger megastar. I'm also not a fan of this viral moment thing. I feel like every year that they go for this, and it's just turning into what is the dumbest spot imaginable. It's inorganic. When you label something ahead of time a viral moment, it's not a viral moment. It's just something that you're promoting a lot.
Well, I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, he's had several of those already in his 3 years in WWE, so he's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's going to give us something. Hopefully it's different. Hopefully it's unique compared to what we've seen, but he's going to do it. He's going to do it. It'll probably be awesome. I hope he doesn't kill himself, or more importantly, AJ Styles, but I definitely got AJ walking away with the win here. I expect. This was my pick for the show, the match to steal the show right here. So whenever this match happens, I think it has the potential to actually be the match stealer of the entire weekend. I think AJ has that capability to bring that kind of match out, and Logan Paul is that fucking crazy and reckless, and he loves. I think he loves being a WWE performer. Let me get something straight right now. I think he's an absolute pompous dickhead. I really fucking do. I'm not a big fan of the guy, but my God, I love the energy he brings for an influencer or a celebrity, an outsider, to come in and work. Because I feel like he does not come in and half-ass it. I feel like he's all in. I feel like he is focused. I feel like he is training with the best, and he goes out there to try to put on a fantastic match rather than just coming out there, getting the spot, and looking like a celebrity. No, man, he wants that fucking moment, and he's working his ass off for it. I can appreciate his in-ring work. But definitely AJ Styles on this one. Logan Paul is the best celebrity pro wrestler that WWE has employed maybe ever, and whatever he has done or said in the past that has no bearing on how I think he performs in the ring, just fucking entertain me, and he's going to entertain. He is incredible at what he does. And a loss here because of what he's going to do in this match is not going to harm him at all. I'm going AJ Styles as well. And like you said, Jesse, I do think this could be theoretically the match stealer of the entire weekend, just not on night 2. Yeah. Rey Mysterio and El Grande Americano. This, to me, is one of the best things going into WrestleMania season, into WrestleMania 41. Gracias, yes. Heavily implied to be Chad Gable. We don't really know for sure, but I think everybody kind of is convinced that it's Chad Gable under the mask. He's been feuding with Rey Mysterio and the LWO as part of this American-made faction with Grande Americano, kind of showing up when he wants to. The short buildup began when Gable lost against the Luchadors in late 2024. It actually got exacerbated because he lost to Penta in Penta's debut match, which was fantastic, leading to the El Grande Americano persona. He had to go to Mexico. He met someone in a dark alley. He got this mysterious box, and in this box was the mask, the El Grande Americano mask, which conveniently I bought off of shopww.com for the whopping price of $80. So the storyline leans into comedic elements here, obviously, and no matter how comedic it is, Santi, we'll start with you. I am just fucking happy that Chad Gable's getting a one-on-one match, man. He's one of the best pro wrestlers in the entire WWE, and to see him get his shine against someone like Rey Mysterio, that's all I'm asking for, man. You know, you mentioned with Rhea, Io, and Bianca how convoluted that build was. The match is going to be fucking great. How comedy this is, how comedic this has been, match is going to be fucking great. We talked about Logan Paul and AJ Styles could be the match stealer of the weekend, man. This obviously has that same feeling as well. I'm going Grande Americano to win here. I think this is not one and done. I do think that this leads to a match of Backlash, and I do think that this leads to a mask versus mask match where Gable is unveiled, obviously, as Grande Americano. How are you feeling about this?
There is one thing. First of all, I love this feud. It's one of my favorite things going on. I think it's absolutely hilarious. As a Latino myself, I'm like, this is freaking awesome. I don't see the insensitivity, and if it is insensitive, it's on purpose. It's supposed to elicit an anger out of you. Either way, I'm really pumped for this. I want one thing out of this match. One thing. I don't know how they can do it, but I want Rey Mysterio to unmask El Grande Americano, and it's not Chad Gable. That would be the fucking funniest thing ever. I would die laughing if they somehow pull that shit off. I don't know how. Make it happen. A body double. That would be the WrestleMania moment. I want El Grande Americano to win here because I do want them to do, as you said, a mask versus mask somewhere down the line. And for that to happen, we need El Grande Americano to win here.
Yeah, Angle, I agree with that. I mean, who would it be, though? Who would you put underneath the mask?
Bro, at this point, put fucking Maven out there. I don't care. Just anybody.
Who was under the mask last time when they had them both in the same shot backstage?
So we've got somebody.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the tattoo conspiracy as well? Like,
I did
Chad
see that.
Gable, yeah, like one has the tattoo, the other one doesn't. So it's very clear. But I just want to piggyback off Santi because that was at first, I'm not gonna lie, like my mindset going in was, hey, they're probably gonna have him just get unmasked at WrestleMania and that's it. And the more and more that I think about it, it's just like, dude, run all the way with this. Like, people are emotionally connected to it. People are laughing at it. Some people are pissed off. That's okay. That's what wrestling is, you know? And at the end of the day, if you look at Backlash, like, that would be pretty cool. Like, for a singles match for a pay-per-view with no title on the line, mask versus mask. Like, you know, you can have El Grande Americano win at WrestleMania and then Rey Mysterio wins then. And, you know, if there is, like, what you could do is maybe the mask gets slightly exposed and it doesn't look like Chad Gable. And then that's how you set up the mask versus mask match because everybody wants to know who it actually is. And then it really is Chad Gable at Backlash or whatever. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's going to be a fun match, dude. Just probably not that long of a match. I don't know, 12 minutes, 13 minutes. I don't know. Just let them go out there, have some fun. And if you do give them the time, it's definitely going to be potential show stealer. So
comedy like this in pro wrestling is never not funny to me. This is just so good stuff.
No, he's so good at everything, and he's just he's got that Kurt Angle nature about him, where he just takes whatever they give him and he just makes it fucking great, whether it's serious or in a comedic fashion. Angle, we'll stay with you. Do you feel like this is eventually leading to Gable leaving American Made and maybe getting shifted over to SmackDown if they have a draft? Because I do feel like he's run his course on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I think the American Made stuff, I don't know. I feel like it works, but at the same time, too, it's not necessarily needed. And I think Chad Gable, after he gets over this comedy gimmick stuff, I think he is going to propel as a future main eventer. And, you know, who knows? Maybe my crazy ideology of, you know, the Rock's takeover versus the good guys, like maybe that's how you do it with Chad Gable. Like, you kind of get him involved over there. But I love the guy. I think he's so talented. And for a lot of people, I know there was a lot of people who were mad that he didn't win the Intercontinental Championship, but it looks like WWE's still behind him. So even after this, just as long as they continue that, I'll be good.
Yeah. Jesse, who are you taking here? Grande Americano or Rey Mysterio?
I don't even really think it matters too much, to be honest with you. The match is just gonna be so much fucking fun. But I'm definitely gonna go with Rey Mysterio on this one though.
All right. Santi, you going Grande Americano?
I wasn't going to up until this show. I changed my mind during this show. I'm going with El Grande Americano.
All right. Ango, who are you going with?
El Grande Americano.
There you go. Likewise, I'm going El Grande Americano, and I think we get a rematch at a Backlash. Speaking of rematches, Damian Priest will go one-on-one with Drew McIntyre. This is now labeled a Sin City Street Fight, which I personally think is much needed because a one-on-one match was not really all that interesting in my honest opinion, though I love both guys and their work. So this feud traces back to WrestleMania 40. Damian Priest cashing his Money in the Bank contract, as you guys know, last year on Drew McIntyre, ending McIntyre's World Heavyweight Championship reign literally only 5 minutes after he won it. Priest continued to just go at it with McIntyre, eliminating him from the Royal Rumble. Obviously, you know his run-ins with Seth Rollins and CM Punk started his feud with Drew McIntyre. Basically, Priest and McIntyre have been linked through at least the first half of 2024. They went away from it for the majority of 2025 towards the second half, and McIntyre moved on to his feud with CM Punk. As the Judgment Day was kind of falling to the wayside and Priest got moved over to SmackDown, they basically moved Priest over to SmackDown along with McIntyre, and they didn't have any plans for them going into WrestleMania, and Triple H figured, you know what, I got no plans for either of these guys. It's probably best if we just link them up together. Now, at first glance, I did not find any interest in this. I said McIntyre and Reigns would probably be best suited for WrestleMania, or McIntyre versus Gunther, or something along with McIntyre versus Zayn, and then they wrote Sami Zayn out of WrestleMania. And then Damian Priest, I know at one point, I don't know if you guys remember, they had a stare down with him and Jacob Fatu. So that was on SmackDown many, many months ago, and they just kind of dropped that out of nowhere. But it all started with McIntyre and Priest in the Rumble, and apparently everybody had a stroke online and people didn't want this match. This was the plan, and it became fully apparent where they were going with this. Santi, we'll start with you. How do you feel about McIntyre and Priest being linked together at WrestleMania, and do you feel the same sentiment as the online fan base that McIntyre deserved a little bit more at WrestleMania? Why would they feel that and at the same time disrespect the body work that Damian Priest has had, because he's been fucking great for the last 12 months?
Mm-hmm. I feel like the fan base feels that way because of the same thing you just said about Damian Priest, because Drew McIntyre has had this great year, but like you said, so has Damian Priest. But to be fair, WWE kind of sent us down this goose chase by having McIntyre mention the bloodline and Roman Reigns for the first 2.5 months of the year, where we were all envisioning this bloodline bounty hunter, if you remember that, where he was going to go after every member of the bloodline, culminating in a big WrestleMania match against Roman Reigns. So it's WWE's fault, in my opinion, that they're the ones that put us in this goose chase thinking that it was going to be Roman versus Drew McIntyre. And because in my head, I married myself to the idea that it should be something bigger for Drew McIntyre, that it should be Roman Reigns, I was ruining this feud for me. And it was a couple of weeks into this feud that I said, well, why the fuck am I doing that? This is what we're going to get. Let me give this a chance. And what I saw was them making delicious lemonade out of a bag of lemons, because this has been a good feud. It has been a good feud. Both guys have looked great, and I was only able to enjoy it once I got rid of this idea that it should have been something else. Once I just sat down and enjoyed what was being presented in front of me, or not necessarily enjoyed what was being presented in front of me, but gave a chance to what was being presented in front of me, I learned to like it. I learned to enjoy it. And I wish I did it a bit earlier, but I'm not just blaming myself. I am blaming WWE a little bit for making me think that it should have been Roman versus Drew McIntyre. I feel like they've made the best out of this situation. I think that it's smart to make this a street fight. It definitely makes it a lot more interesting. It definitely opens the war chest for what these guys can do. I just hope McIntyre wins.
Likewise, I think McIntyre needs to win, and I agree there. I wasn't too interested in it, and then, I've been saying this for the last few weeks. Please don't doubt Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, because when they get turned into what they have been portrayed as, this serious threat, McIntyre just takes a storyline to the next level. Damian Priest is a great promo, so is Drew McIntyre. Don't ever doubt Drew McIntyre when it comes to this type of thing, and he's obviously showed that to everybody and has really turned the corner with this just slightly to make it a little bit more intriguing. Angle, how do you feel about this? And are you disappointed that this match is happening? Would you have done something else with Drew McIntyre going into WrestleMania?
Not at all. When you see how the triple threat has been shaped up and then Cody and Cena, like I'm totally fine with this. I will say, like initially in the beginning, I was kind of confused, and I think it was because of the Royal Rumble. Whatever happened with LA Knight and Drew and that whole thing, like I think that's where I kind of got confused. But I appreciate WWE making this very logical and then even calling back to WrestleMania 40. And I think with Damian Priest, I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate sometimes, but we've seen him in a street fight with Bad Bunny. And that to me was always a phenomenal moment as a fan, just to sit back and watch wrestling. And he did that with a celebrity. Now you put him in the ring with a legit killer in the ring, Drew McIntyre, who had such a great Hell in a Cell match with Punk, which even that I wasn't really anticipating, to be honest. I feel like these two guys are going to go out there. I think they're going to have great chemistry. And I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of blood here. I wouldn't mind seeing them get really, really, really into it and really just show the world why they shouldn't sleep on this. But I am with Santi. Like, I think 1,000,000% Drew has to win. And yes, the idea of the being the bounty hunter going after the bloodline, I think you can return to that after this too. So I would like to see them get back to that. And Drew, I'm just going to throw this out there. We're talking about people selling their souls. He's now part of Project Rock. You throw Seth and Drew in the mix. Okay, there's something there.
I like it. I'm going to go out on the limb. If they do the King of the Ring this year, I think McIntyre's winning King of the Ring. If he is going to win a championship, it's going to be this year. I think, like I said before, do not doubt Drew McIntyre. Jesse, how you feeling about Priest and McIntyre? Are you excited about this match at all?
So I guess I'm the odd man out here. Not gonna lie, I forgot this match was even fucking happening. I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot that it was even happening. I don't really have an interest in it, and I do believe that Drew McIntyre deserves a little bit better than this. And it's not a knock on Damian Priest. I just feel like like you guys said, they've been using Drew McIntyre at the top of the card. He's been interacting with all of the main event guys. And this is where we have him for WrestleMania. I just thought that he would be used better than this. That's all. And it's not a knock on Priest. I like Damian Priest. I agree with everything about his match, that he had with Bad Bunny and everything. Entertaining as shit. I just felt like they've been keeping Drew on a higher level than where they've been keeping Damian Priest. So I just felt like he just deserved a little bit better. But I understand everybody. There's only a certain number of spots, and they just feel like they just slotted them in something because they didn't book them anywhere else on the card. But I definitely have Drew McIntyre winning. And I like him playing a role somewhere at the top of the card too. Third man. All this other shit. I mean, I could definitely see that. I would like to see that because I want to see him doing something better than just this match right here.
Well, his name is certainly more in the discussion about him and Rock than Rollins is. So I would love to see the evolution of Drew McIntyre, especially after what he gave us last year. It's much deserved. So I'm going Drew McIntyre as well. I think he needs this more than Damian Priest does. Women's Tag Team Championship. We talked about the tag team division earlier for the men, and I know Santi said that the women's tag team division is certainly depleted, and WWE, they pretend that there is an actual division, and yet there's nothing more than makeshift tag teams here. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will defend the titles against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. One is, I would say, I wouldn't even say that they're an actual tag team. They're just part of the same faction. The other are not a tag team and have been randomly placed together with 3 weeks to go here for WrestleMania. Listen, I will say one positive thing here. Liv Morgan is the MVP of the women's division in 2025. Her body work has been fucking fantastic, and it really stems from what she did in the Elimination Chamber. She absolutely killed it, and she is so good. I was not the biggest Liv Morgan fan, but she's really turned me into being a fan. Raquel Rodriguez, personally, I don't really care about anything she does. Bayley, I feel like she needs a heel turn. Lyra has not been able to get over. I'm feeling that Lyra and Bayley are on a collision course for a feud over the Intercontinental Championship with Bayley turning heel. So just by that alone, I'm going Liv and Raquel here, and I think Bayley and Lyra feud over the title, and Bayley gets a much-needed heel turn, which eventually will get Lyra to the level where she needs to be because they haven't really done anything with the Intercontinental Championship as well as the United States Championship. Santi, we'll start with you. How you feeling about this, and who's going over?
I feel like I've already shared what I felt about the division in this. I'm not interested in this feud or story at all. That gauntlet match was a stark visual representation of how dead that division is, like completely and utterly dead. Lyra and Bayley announcing them to be in the gauntlet match before their Intercontinental Championship match had even taken place was absolutely ridiculous to me. This should have just been something for the Intercontinental Championship, including Liv Morgan, so that she could get her moment in there. This tag team championship division, my level of interest right now is 0. And it's crazy to me that in a year where these tag team titles were in multiple PLEs because of Bianca and Jade and Naomi, that they couldn't build anything on top of that foundation. That's nuts to me. Yeah. The match is going to be great. The talent in there is awesome. Like, Lyra is so fucking good. Bayley's going to be great. Liv is awesome. Like you said, one of the best performers that the WWE has right now. And Raquel will be there. I'm still going to take Liv and Raquel here.
Jesse, how you feeling about this? You didn't care about Priest and McIntyre, man. Hopefully the same sentiment felt here, huh?
Nah, well, I mean, I have more interest here. Like you said, man, I agree with you. Liv's body of work is fantastic, you know, and I definitely enjoy that. You know, I wouldn't understand a Bayley heel turn again, but I would understand a Lyra heel turn here because, like you said, the babyface run is just boring. You know, I mean, why not try our hand in a little bit of a heel turn with Lyra Valkyrie? Why not? Babyface is newly back to babyface here. And her heel run was just okay. The problem with Bayley's heel run, it wasn't believable. Nobody believed Bayley was an asshole. Everybody loved Bayley.
What are you talking about? Bayley was a great heel.
Everybody loved Bayley. Nobody believed.
Yes, we loved Bayley as a babyface, and we loved Bayley even more as a heel. What are you talking about?
Man, she was not a believable heel. She's Bayley, man. You remember when she was over in Europe and she tried doing heel shit and the crowd just kept singing their Bayley song and she kept smiling and trying to play it off, man. She's so lovable, man. She's so fucking lovable. But I think the same way that it was Charlotte's job to get Tiffany over, I think it's gonna be Bayley's job to get Lyra Valkyrie over. So I'm kind of interested to see how this unfolds. I'm gonna go with Bayley and Lyra though.
Hango, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I hate this match. I hate the women's tag team division.
So do what? Listen, what else needs to be said, honestly?
Listen, everybody wants like some deep analysis on some stuff. This is not necessary. No. Chelsea Green not being on the card, defending her U.S. title. Lyra not defending the U.S. title. This is a joke. To be honest with you, I wish I could offer more of a, some like real analysis. I guess the only other thing I will say is the Judgment Day win. I don't know if people actually give a shit about the idea of this, but for some reason, I have a really weird feeling that maybe we get Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross confronting the Judgment Day, and we got the Wyatt 6 versus the Judgment Day as a feud. I don't know. I'm getting a strange feeling about that. But
I could see that happening. Listen, in so many words, I've been saying this since Bayley and Sasha were the tag team champions, and they lost to the Iconics at WrestleMania several years ago. I would burn the fucking titles, get rid of them, because the division is not needed, and just move everybody going after the Intercontinental and the U.S. titles. That's it.
So one thing that needs to be said here, too, is like NXT has this fatal 4-way tag team division #1 contenders match. And I was talking about it on my show. The one thing is, like, we were talking about Roxanne feuding with Bayley, then it gets dropped. It's very clear that WWE is just going to call up Roxanne and Cora Jade as a women's tag team. That's so awesome. if that's the route that they want to go, I'm fine with that. But the problem is, it is the most inconsistently booked tag team division ever, and tag team wrestling across the board, all these companies honestly sucks, men's or women's division. Yes. So I genuinely don't care about this at all. Like they could have just left this off the card.
Take the belt off Stephanie, put it back on Julia, call Stephanie up. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. Fuck the tag team division. I'm going Liv and Raquel here. Like Angle said, nothing more to analyze. Intercontinental title, men's, Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, Fatal 4-Way. I am Kind of disappointed this isn't a one-on-one match of some sort between Braun Breaker and Penta, but the story of Balor and Dominic Mysterio is something that I'm slightly intrigued by. I just wish that they did more to tell that story leading into WrestleMania. So the feud began with Dominic and Carlito attacking Braun Breaker, only for Penta to intervene here. Mysterio offered Penta a spot in the Judgment Day, which he refused. Penta called a shot for the Intercontinental Championship after, lo and behold, winning matches got him to be the number one contender. Look at that, man. Simple as best. So we got, eventually, on this past Monday's Raw, a tag team match with Breaker and Penta against Balor and Mysterio. And tensions arose when Breaker accidentally speared Penta. Adam Pearce booked the Fatal 4-Way. And Braun Breaker is now defending the title against these three individuals. Santi, we'll start with you. Like I said, I feel like Balor and Dominic Mysterio, their story should have been told a little bit more here. And I'm assuming we'll get that following WrestleMania leading into Backlash. But I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I know everybody loves Braun Breaker and everybody loves Penta. He's the new guy in town, and everybody figured he'd win the Intercontinental Championship with a great moment happening at WrestleMania. But I'm going Dominic Mysterio to walk out of WrestleMania with the IC title.
Oh, that is a beautiful choice, my friend.
Yes.
Give yourself a pat on the back. It's the only choice. Dominic Mysterio is going to win this. I wouldn't even mind like an Ethan Page Heat Wave 2024 style finish. That would be fucking hilarious if they finished it that way, with Dominic Mysterio walking out as IC champion, not even knowing that he won the damn thing. I think that would be so good. I will say I appreciate that they found a way to make everyone interconnect with one another. Penta and Braun Breaker, even the baby faces, have problems with each other. We know that there's the looming problem between Dominic and Finn, and then obviously heels and baby faces don't like each other. They've done a good, serviceable job, significantly like by like a magnitude of 30 compared to last year's Intercontinental Championship build between Sami Zayn and Gunther. They've done a good enough job to build this at getting me excited. I'm predicting Dominic Mysterio. I would love an Ethan Page style win. But what I'm predicting is, since Finn Balor has been so against a new member of the Judgment Day, that we could see that new member of the Judgment Day here. And it's because of this new member of the Judgment Day that Dominic Mysterio wins. So that's what I'm going to go with. But Ethan Page style finish, that would be a dream come true.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who would you put in the Judgment Day?
Oh, man, I have no idea. Like, I've gone through like 50 different names, and I hate the idea of all of them. The only one that I'm like, I guess that can kind of work would be, and hear me out, there's not much to this, Omos. You're not doing anything with him. You might as well give a big scary body to Dominic Mysterio to help him out. But like, even that's kind of dumb. Like, I can't really picture who makes sense as a member of the Judgment Day. I don't want Rusev going there. I definitely don't want Aleister Black. No one makes sense. But yet they've been making this like such a focal point of the divide between Dominic and Finn that I don't see them not paying it off.
In some weird way, I could actually seeing that work out. I don't know. Ango, you were very animated before when Santi mentioned Heatwave and Ethan Page, man. What are you thinking?
I literally said that on my live stream yesterday. I literally said on my live show yesterday, I want this to be the exact identical thing. You know, when you have somebody trying to get in the ring to break up the pin and they're being held back, that would be actually the perfect moment for Finn. Finn is going to try to break up the pin so Dom doesn't win, but the new member gets revealed. So that's how I would do it. I would have Dom pin Penta. Dom would pin Penta, and then that's eventually how you set up Penta and Dom, you know, for the future. But Braun Breaker is completely out of it because of a spot. Finn Balor is going to break up the pin. Dominic falls on Penta, and when Finn is trying to break up the pin, he can't because the new member gets revealed. I actually believe Finn Balor is done with the Judgment Day. They have hinted at this for the last year. The Demon Finn Balor will be rehabilitated. It will come back and get a serious singles push under Triple H. And I think this is the way to do it. Now, who that member is, just like Santi said, 50 names, none of them really make sense. And I really, really hate the idea of it being Aleister Black, because at this point, I'm just tired of the Judgment Day. But if you wanted to do a complete shift on what the Judgment Day is, I guess maybe you can do that. I would hate it, but I'm just saying maybe you can do that, or maybe I could see that happening. But yeah, Dominic Mysterio wins the Intercontinental Championship. If it's anything like what he did with the North American Championship when he had it, you know, and he's actually utilized, I think this will be great. I will say initially my reaction was kind of bummed that it was a fatal four-way, just because if you looked at how stacked that mid card is on Raw, Ludwig Kaiser not being on the card, Sheamus not being on the card, Pete Dunne not being on the card. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would have been a little bit better for that. But yeah, Dominic Mysterio wins. Copy the Ethan Page method. And if you are going to reveal a new member, let that be the way of them kicking out Finn Balor.
Yeah, I agree with Balor. He's done with the Judgment Day. Jesse, how you feel about this Fatal 4-Way? Who you got?
You guys are all fucking nuts.
Why?
Braun Breaker's retaining, man. What the fuck is wrong with you guys?
What are you talking about? Braun Breaker's getting ready to fucking wrestle Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. What are you talking about?
Oh my god, pretty much, man. You know, I'm starting to really believe that Braun Breaker is a generational talent, man. This guy is something fucking special. I could see them trying to revitalize the IC title back to what Gunther brought it to, and just having this guy be the fucking workhorse and a main state champion for a while until they take the title from him, and then he gets pushed to the main event scene after that. If you take the title off of him now, he's not ready for the main event scene, and then where does he go from there? I think he stays as champion for a while. I got Braun Breaker as champion till SummerSlam at the very least. I think he's that damn good and that much of a dominant IC champion. I think that the Judgment Day is going to fall all over themselves. They're going to lose because of each other, and then further carry on their issue with Balor leaving, because Dominic was the reason that Balor didn't win or some shit like that. But I got Braun Breaker coming out of all of this nonsense as champion.
All right, well, you're in the minority. We're all going with Dominic Mysterio, and Jesse's going with Braun Breaker. So there you go.
Yeah.
And the main event. The main event of WrestleMania is Cody Rhodes and John Cena. Instead of me going over a little detail for detail here, the heel run of John Cena, the heel turn of John Cena, monumental, one of the most shocking moments in WWE history. John Cena and Cody Rhodes are now on a collision course for the WWE Championship as John Cena chases number 17. I was shocked to see it all happen. I was fucking jumping off my couch. I loved every bit of it. I didn't like the follow-up, and I was very disappointed in the follow-up. I love the fact that John Cena addressed the fans and really threw everything back at the fans over the 20-plus years that they gave him. I love the fact that John Cena came out and said that he is not going to give the fans what they want. He's not going to come out with new theme music, a new look, a new belt, a new this, a new that. He's going to give you the same John Cena that you vehemently fucking just disrespected for 20-plus years, and I'm going to chase number 17 is what he said in his second promo. He's going to win number 17 and throw the WWE Championship right back in your face, because when I won it and I changed it to the spinner belt, you guys did not give a shit that I was champion. All you cared about was me disrespecting the lineage of the WWE title. And then in week 3, guys, it was finally Cody Rhodes and John Cena. After the first 2 weeks, it more felt like John Cena versus the fans. Santi, we'll start with you. And the very simple question of John Cena's heel turn is, are you pleased with what we got so far, or has WWE dropped the ball with the missing appearances of John Cena on the road to WrestleMania?
Like I said earlier in the show, had the go-home episode been John Cena getting Crossroads, I would have been so much more into this feud than I am. I think the fundamental problem with this feud is the fact that it all rides on John Cena. It's about John Cena's heel turn, John Cena's relationship with the fans. Why did John Cena sell his soul to The Rock? Cena. And it's not really the relationship between Cena and Cody Rhodes. They've done a poor job at actually making those two connect, because Cody Rhodes' entire motivation is to stop Cena from making history. That to me isn't the greatest motivation for the big baby face of the company. It's honorable to stop history, to allow more history to be created, but they haven't done had enough time to really develop Cody Rhodes' motivations in this story, in my opinion. The heel turn with John Cena and his relationship with the fans, I thought was necessary, because that's always been the feud for the past 20 years, John Cena versus the fans. But now I want John Cena versus the dude he's facing. I want John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I want that to be developed. And I hope to God that that's what they focus on and develop on Friday Night SmackDown, the go-home episode, and that it's not more John Cena berating me for being a piece of shit for buying all of his merch. Fuck you too, John. I bought the spinner belt. I'm sorry for supporting you. I think we get it. We understand what the relationship now looks like between John Cena and the fans. Now we need Cena and Cody. and they didn't leave themselves enough runway to develop that with John Cena being gone for those weeks. And I don't know that they have enough runway here on Friday Night SmackDown to truly make that connection and make you care about the narrative between those two specifically and why Cody Rhodes' motivations are important. I think that this heel turn is definitely a long game, a long con for a long time. I feel like once the dust settles, once he retires, we'll truly be able to say, was this a successful heel run or not? Right now, it's still too early, but it's a shame that we're talking about this being undercooked and too early going into Wrestle Frickin' Mania Night 2 main event. That's kind of the problem that I have with this, but I'm still in for the John Cena heel run. And I want more of John Cena, Cody Rhodes, even beyond WrestleMania. I've got Cena winning here because I just don't see how you pull the trigger on the biggest thing that you have to pull the trigger on. Your biggest bullet in the chamber available without The Rock there and not make John Cena the big bad of the company. That's one thing that WWE has needed, actually, the big bad. Since Roman became a good guy, they haven't had the big scary bad guy. They tried with Solo. Yeah, right. Wasn't buying that. Gunther, they want to, but they're still a ways away of making Gunther the big bad of the WWE. So let's just let Cena be the big bad for the next couple of months. The WWE needs that, what in the superhero world is called the planetary threat. I need that guy where all of the baby faces need to come together to beat. And I want that to be John Cena. And for me to buy into that, Cena needs to win.
I 1,000% agree. I think just for the simple fact you did what you did at the Chamber, the only payoff that is even possible is John Cena beating Cody Rhodes. Cody celebrated last year. He was on top of the mountain this year. He falls and The Rock gets his revenge. I do think Cena being that planetary villain in WWE is the right way to go because it automatically sets up a match with Randy Orton at Backlash. It sets a whole summer of fun with CM Punk. And then obviously we can venture down that Cody Rhodes path towards the end of the year. I do think Cena gets the win at WrestleMania and Cody is the one to dethrone him, which ultimately will lead to John Cena turning back to a babyface to round out his retirement year. Absolutely agree there. Ango, how do you feel about this? Are you disappointed in the fact that John Cena has not mentioned anything about The Rock and why he sold his soul? Do you think that was an important narrative that they just conveniently left out for all these weeks?
Not at all. And the reason why I'm not is because I understood that this is all about the long game. And I think for WWE, what they've really done here is keeping The Rock out of it. I think would have made the Cena heel turn really cool initially. Had John Cena, beat up Cody every single week, like Cody got his ass kicked last year, it would have been contradictory of everything John Cena said. Now that John Cena's been disrespected with that crossroads, that's where things change. So for me personally, I think everybody just needs to understand that under Triple H's vision, WrestleMania is not the end of storylines. And, they're on the bottom of the third inning right now. So I think keeping The Rock out of it was actually relatively smart because The Rock, Travis Scott, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, all celebrating with John Cena's 17th championship. I don't know who sells their soul, right? We have these ideas that we've all talked about, but I think John Cena will have some help. He'll win the number 17, and then that becomes this new chapter that blossoms into a greater storyline. And I think, if you really, really want to get people excited, I think tonight's SmackDown, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Have Cody Rhodes start off the show backstage, attacked and bloodied and brutally beaten, and make it look like Cody might not even make it tonight too.
I hope something like that happens. I feel like the television show needs it because we haven't gotten that moment yet.
Yes, and then what would actually be perfect is John Cena could sit there and say, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that automatically opens up the floodgates. Okay, somebody sold their soul to The Rock. Yeah. Now night two, it's going to end in that fashion. And by the way, with Triple H, if you end the show, and I did say it, I said, if you look at last year, you can make the argument. John Cena was pointing at Cody's championship when they were all celebrating last year. Yep. This year, it's a different visual, but that visual is so important because with John Cena being this massive heel, this is the time where you really got to double down on it. However, I will say if Triple H and the WWE do not move forward with John Cena's heel turn, if Cody wins and that's it will be the biggest creative blunder they ever had, because right now they literally have gold sitting on their laps at a time where gold is so valuable. That's what they have sitting on their laps. So you just got to sit there and actually make the right investment. And the right investment is, hey, good guys versus bad guys. And long term, right? We want Roman versus Rock. We're going to get there. But in the meantime, what about War Games this year? Like, what about some of these other pay-per-views and other events that they do? This is the time. Let them cook, right? Let them cook. That's what everybody wants to say. But it's important that they let it simmer. They got to let it simmer. And the way to do that begins tonight and then Sunday night. And then after Sunday night, this is full speed. John Cena's got to be active. John Cena's got to be there. Like, this is not some type of bullshit where we don't get any explanations and stuff like that. They really got to come correct. If they don't get it right here, it's a very bad fail for WWE.
This guy's already thinking it's Friday, brother. We got Collision tonight, man. What are you talking about?
Sorry.
Right. They moved SmackDown?
My bad.
I'm only joking. Jesse, round this out here so we can get the hell out of here, man. What do you think of this? Who do you got?
So I wanted to just say, look, Cody wins because you spent 2 years putting the title on this guy, telling his story, just for him to lose to a part-timer at WrestleMania. But, like we just talked about at the start of this segment, where it seems like the feud is John Cena against the fans, I think that is the outcome that would play exactly into what they are trying to tell us. And what would make Cena even more of a dick than being a part-timer and coming in and dethroning the top babyface in the company. That literally plays right into the story that they're telling with why John Cena turned heel. So now when that happens and he takes the title and he takes it from Cody and Cody is sitting there with another rubber chicken in the ring and everything else, Cena comes back on Monday and says, I told you guys. Yeah, I told you. What, are you pissed off now that I'm a part-timer and I came and I don't give a shit. You guys didn't give a shit about me when I cared about you the most, so if this angers you, good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that does give them the opportunity to, like you said, have a fantastic top villain between now and SummerSlam, and you can correct that situation at SummerSlam in the SummerSlam main event. I think I'm gonna go with Cena winning as well.
There you go. John Cena's gonna win. John Cena needs to win. WWE Championship number 17. Guys, that is your WrestleMania 41 roundtable for this Thursday afternoon. I appreciate everybody in the chat. We had upwards towards 2,800 people in here. We have almost 1,300 likes. I'm going to get to you super chats in just a second. I'm going to give these guys, because I know Santi has to get out of here. So I'm going to give Santi, Ango, and Jesse the floor to let everybody know where they can find you and spew your shit, guys. Where can we find you? Santi, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you guys can find me in anything Santi's app. Google Santi's app and pick your poison, whichever social media platform you prefer. If you want, long form YouTube videos and podcasts, go check out the YouTube. You're already here. It'll make it nice and easy for you. But all the different platforms are there. Pick your poison. There
you go. Ango, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, everywhere. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever. At Ango. If you can't find me, then I'm apparently not doing a good enough job. So with that being said, you guys have the opportunity to help me hit 100,000 subscribers. We're getting closer and closer and closer. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Jesse?
They all know where they can find me. Shout out Smart. Find me on Saturday. I'm doing absolutely doing a Saturday night watch along for night one. Sunday, I'm not sure, man. We're looking at a long weekend of WrestleMania, so we shall see. But definitely Saturday night, I'm gonna throw a nice little watch along party, man. It should be fun. Do me a favor though, don't forget Osakui.
No, I'm not going to forget Osagui. We're going to read through the super chats, at least some of them, because I also have to get out of here too. Guys, if you want to hang around for the super chats, you're more than welcome. I know, Santi, you got to get out of here. How you feeling? If you want to stay, you want to go, let me know.
Take care, everybody. I am going to head out.
There you go, bro.
Pleasure. Hopefully we do it again soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, brother. Thank you,
Take it
Santi.
easy, man. Good times.
Yeah, good stuff, man. I'm going to get off too as well, actually, because I got to run.
There you go, bro.
It's great. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
It's fun, man. Thanks, bro.
I enjoy talking to you guys every year, man. It seems like a fun thing.
Yeah.
Look at all these different theories we got. It's so fun.
Yeah, it won't be the less, man. I may be playing some of the SummerSlam. I'll keep you posted.
Let's do it.
All right, man.
I'll see you guys.
Yes, sir. Later, man.
All right, it's just me and Jesse. I'm going to read through some of these because I also have to get out of here as well. So thank you guys very much. I do want to shout out David Thiering. He came in early with a 15 in Super Chat. JD, Jesse, Ango, OTS family, and of course, Santi Zab. How are you all doing today? Can't wait for the great discussion. Going to be a banger. And he also says, side note, JD, Jesse, it boggles my mind that people keep complaining in the comment section about Jesse's mic being too soft on Dynamite reviews. Just listen, people. Very annoying. Jesse is more soft-spoken than me, man. I've done everything to alleviate this problem, but...
Bro, look, I made it a point to open up the app and listen to the dialogue of all four of us, and the audio on my phone came through loud and clear.
There you
So
go.
everyone complaining about the volume, I'm sorry. I timed you out. You need to look at yourselves, your devices. I don't know what it is, but everybody came out crystal clear for me.
I don't know. Osakui comes in with a $100 super chat earlier. Thank you so much, brother. Loving this roundtable, guys. This bomb comes from my 5-year-old AJ. He insisted, since, in his words, it's not his money. There you go. And yeah, we got Johnny Boy Vaccaro with a 20. Becky Lynch's character being stale. I feel like she's a legit trailblazer over Charlotte. Trailblazers are someone who is willing to sacrifice a kayfabe win-loss record, and Charlotte won't do it. The android needs to retire. I don't think she needs to retire. I think she just needs to do like Jesse said, and that is starts prepping for the future and building that division around the future of the company. Best in the world, Matt, with 7 months. Excellent stream today, gentlemen. I appreciate each and every one of you and all you do. Keep up the great work. Basic, thank you for the $9.99. I'm going to read through these because I also have to get out of here, honestly. I'm running short on time. I'm just going to read through the names, and I promise you guys I'll read all your messages on tomorrow's stream. Friday night, we'll hang out. It's going to be a long night, man. SmackDown's going to be live for 3 hours. Cena's going to be there. We got the Hall of Fame. I'll read all of your messages on tomorrow's stream, but I do want to shout out everybody that chimed in tonight. Tyler, Emmanuel, Cake, Colin Hutton, Sidro. He came in twice. A. Jackson, Tom Talks Rubbish. What's up, brother? Just popping in to say thanks for being awesome and making this space better. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you as always. Phil, Tay, Osakui as usual. Devil Jinx, Michael Krause. Yeah. Johnny Boy Vaccaro, Best in the World. Matt, Basic, Thomas. And we got, who else we got here? We got Thomas Malloy. We got Thomas and Thomas Malloy. And then David Thiering comes in again with a 5. Great job tonight, guys. Can't wait for the weekend. Great show, guys. I appreciate all you.
Fantastic.
Jesse, sound us out of here like we usually do on Wednesdays, man. What do you got?
Man. Again, join me this Saturday for the Saturday night WrestleMania watch-along party, man. Might do some shots. Gonna order some grub. We're gonna watch this show, man. I'm gonna leave the audio all the way up. I don't care if they fucking ban it. Why not? I don't care.
There you go.
Once a year. Let's do it.
There you go. Thank you guys very much for a great stream. I appreciate all of you here on the podcast. You guys killed it. Tomorrow night, man, the go-home show for WrestleMania, Friday Night SmackDown in the Hall of Fame, right here on Off the Script. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Follow Jesse, Shot-Town Smart. Thank you once again to Santi Zap and my guy Ango for joining us here on the show. We are looking at a WrestleMania weekend that I do feel will deliver, and I'll be here to cover it all with you guys right here on Off the Script. Until then, guys, take care and see you tomorrow night for Friday Night SmackDown.